Zhao Yunqian sighed with relief. We finally escaped the frightening experience without pain, safe and sound. We are indebted to Bailey Hongzhuang. Xiao Zifan smiled, turning around to extinguish the fire. He took Bailey Hongzhuang's final departing words to heart. The night quietly passed. As the sun rose, Bailey Hongzhuang stopped cultivating and freshened herself up before once more continuing her journey. Bailey Hongzhuang began to take the initiative to attack. Anytime she heard a demonic beast's movements, she would go to check it out. She needed to find the storm wolf's location for the competition. Throughout the course of half a day, although Bailey Hongzhuang didn't find the storm wolf, she did collect many beast crystals. Master, we still haven't found the storm wolf. Little White's face was helpless. Although the range of their spirit force was very wide, something in the hunting field was hindering it, making the range of their searching very limited. After probing around with their spirit force, they were still unable to find even a trace of the storm wolf. Bailey Hongzhuang pursed her lips into a small smile. Luoxia Mountain isn't small at all. We've already explored half of it, so the storm wolf should be somewhere up ahead. We'll run into it sooner or later. From the cultivators competing this year, only Xianyuan Huan or Bailey Yuyan would be able to kill it. If someone did kill it, once the news is spread, even if they could escape the first time, they wouldn't be able to escape again. Bailey Hongzhuang continued to move ahead when suddenly, a figure appeared in front of her. When Yitong saw Bailey Hongzhuang come, her pretty face couldn't help but turn a little disappointed. Although there were many demonic beasts in Luoxia Mountain, killing them one by one was very troublesome. It was much better to rob other cultivators, saving time and effort. Seeing a woman come alone without another person gave Yitong this idea. After all, with her mysterious earth-late staged cultivation, there was almost no chance of failure. But she didn't expect for this woman to actually be Bailey Hongzhuang. The excitement in her heart completely disappeared. Such trash even surviving in these mountains until now was already a miracle. How could she have killed any demonic beasts? Hand over all your beast crystals and money, and I will release your horse. Yi Yitong said lazily. Although she didn't care about Bailey Hongzhuang, as the Qin Wangfei, she should be very rich. Robbing some money was also very good. Seeing Yi Yitong look at her with contempt, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a bewitching smile as she asked. Why? Why? Yi Yitong couldn't help but laugh, because in front of my strength, you're just trash. Who do you think you are? Bailey Hongzhuang's smile slowly turned cold. You dare to talk big in front of me. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang act like this, Yi Yitong sneered. It seems that Bailey Hongzhuang still didn't fully understand the situation. Do you think you would be safe just because of your title of Wangfei? This is the hunting field. Even if I kill you, nobody would ever know. Bailey Hongzhuang's smile turned even more enchanting and seductive. I want to see if you have the ability. Yi Yitong was speechless. Bailey Hongzhuang, that trash, was mocking her. She dares. Not knowing fear until facing death. Yi Yitong's words contained killing intent. I already gave you a chance. Since you can't differentiate between good and bad, don't blame me for being ruthless. Chapter 138. Suddenly, another voice appeared. Yi Yitong, since I was the one who caught her, let's split the loot. Yi Yitong was startled, turning to find a boy in black robes standing behind her. A trace of light flickered past her eyes. Tian Weiming. Tian Weiming didn't pay much attention to Yi Yitong and instead turned to look at Bailey Hongzhuang. The corners of his mouth rose into an evil smile. I didn't expect you'd dare to start a fight with Qin Wangfei. Ah. Yi Yitong ignored Tian Weiming's ridicule. I promise you will get a slice of the pie. Tian Weiming's smile deepened. You sure talk fast. Let's split it half and half. No problem. Yi Yitong agreed, straightforward. Bailey Hongzhuang crossed her arms in front of her chest, sneering as she watched. I'll give you guys a chance. If you get out of my sight right now, I'll forgive you. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was cold, her beautiful face full of killing intent. The two were already talking about how to divide the loot, not putting her in their eyes at all. Trying to rob her, it could only be said that they had some terrible luck. Since they were acting so arrogant, she didn't mind letting them see the knowledge and experience that came with true arrogance. Hearing her words, Tian Weiming and Yi Tong were momentarily startled before bursting into loud laughter. What did I just hear? Trash dared to threaten us? Tian Weiming laughed incredulously. This was the biggest joke he had ever heard. Just kill her to avoid any more trouble. Yi Tong said coldly. Right now, there was always a chance for someone to come. Rather than wasting time, it'd be much better to just directly kill her. Tian Weiming nodded in agreement. Will you do it, or should I? I'll go. Yi Tong raised her eyebrow, smiling. Master, these two fellows are just too hateful. Little Black already couldn't watch, wishing that he could just go and deal with Yi Tong and Tian Weiming right then and there. Bailey Hongzhuang was still smiling, but her eyes were cold like a glacier. Since you guys didn't treasure that chance, I can only let you two enter heaven. The next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang raised her hand and waggled her finger. Come. Arrogant. Yi Tong's face turned ugly. A waste dared to tell her to come, what a joke. Her mind stirred, chi immediately surging through her body. Her strength was undoubtedly mysterious earth late-stage cultivation. Accept death. Yi Tong's figure suddenly moved, waving her long sword. She directly attacked Bailey Hongzhuang's vital organs, with the intent to kill her. Bailey Hongzhuang narrowed her eyes. This Yi Tong was truly very impulsive. Before, there was never a conflict between her and Yi Tong, and now, she wanted to kill her. Yi Tong's heart was truly vicious. In the split second as Yi Tong charged, Bailey Hongzhuang also disappeared. Shadowless kill. Only a silver light could be seen, piercing into the vast sky. Bailey Hongzhuang's figure disappeared, no longer standing where she was before. Shadowless kill can kill people without a trace, and its speed couldn't be judged. When she just began to train in her past life, this was the skill she relied on most to kill people. Although now she was in a different body, she was still skilled as before. Tian Weiming watched lazily. He didn't care about Bailey Hongzhuang, he only thought of it as reaping benefits in passing. This kind of trash, he had no interest at all. Beast crystals, demonic cores, but in the next moment, Tian Weiming could no longer smile, his eyes filled with fright. He couldn't even hear the two weapons meet. He could only see Bailey Hongzhuang's figure disappear, and then reappear behind Yi Tong like a ghost. Thump. A heavy body fell to the ground with a loud thump. Yi Tong's two big eyes stared at the ground. The ridicule and happiness in her eyes were replaced by dense fear. Warm liquid gushed out of her throat, impossible to stop. One move. Only one move, and she no longer had the strength to fight back. Yi Tong's heart was filled with unwillingness. She didn't want to believe that she would die today at Bailey Hongzhuang's hand. She only thought it'd be a one-sided slaughter. How come she ended up losing her life? Nobody gave her an answer. Even Bailey Hongzhuang didn't spare her so much as a glance after she hit her. Yi Long was certain that she had already killed her. Looking at the unmoving Yi Tong, Tian Weiming was completely stunned. What happened? The smile on Bailey Hongzhuang's lips grew more and more enchanting. Her red lips gently opened, her voice full of charm. You said you wanted to kill me. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang speak those words in such a soft voice, Tian Weiming could only feel his back turn cold, the fear enveloping him. He and Yi Tong were both at late-staged mysterious earth. Since Bailey Hongzhuang was capable of killing Yi Tong in one stroke, killing him was just as easy. Chen Wangfei, I had eyes but failed to recognize empty Tai. You must spare me this time. Tian Weiming's face was pale as he begged for mercy. Earlier, you threatened to kill me. Did you really think that I would let you off? Bailey Hongzhuang sneered, if someone offends me, Bailey Hongzhuang, they will not have a good end. Her voice was hard. Bailey Hongzhuang's sharp sword moved again. Before Tian Weiming could escape, he had already died. The two were dealt with in a flash. Bailey Hongzhuang calmly took the two's heaven and earth pouches before continuing her journey. If others didn't offend her, she wouldn't offend others. She never liked taking the initiative to invite trouble upon herself, but if others looked for trouble with her, she wouldn't be soft. Little Black and Little White each took a heaven-earth pouch and looked inside. There were many demonic cores. It looks like it wasn't the first time they did something like that. Today's harvest is far better than killing demonic beasts individually. Bailey Hongzhuang kept all the demonic cores together. With Yi Yitong's temper, she's afraid that the number of cultivators that died by her hands weren't small. Chapter 140. Through her exchanges with other cultivators, she knew that nobody had encountered the storm wolf yet. Out of 3 days, 2 of them have already passed. There was only 1 day left. Everyone had already started to look for the storm wolf. Once again finding a quiet region to rest, Bailey Hongzhuang entered a state of cultivation. During the day, she had killed many demonic beasts, consuming much of her qi. She needed to cultivate and raise her power to stay at optimal strength. As Bailey Hongzhuang quietly cultivated, everybody was talking about Yi Yitong's and Tian Weiming's deaths. I saw Yi Yitong and Tian Weiming's corpses. They were killed cleanly with a cut to the throat. It must be a cultivator who did this. Hearing what the cultivator said, everyone was startled. Yi Yitong and Tian Weiming were very strong amongst the cultivators competing in the hunting competition. If they could directly kill 2 late-staged mysterious earth cultivators with only a stroke to the throat, just how strong were they? Yi Yitong always acted arrogantly, never putting anyone into her eyes. It's not surprising for her to be killed because she offended somebody. Maybe the other party isn't alone. We need to be careful, otherwise it'd be too late to regret it. Xiao Zifen and Xiao Yunqian couldn't help but look at each other as they listened, their minds instantly thought of Bailey Hongzhuang. Using 1 stroke of the sword to cut the throat, that was just like how Bailey Hongzhuang killed the flame civets. There was no one else on the whole mountain that had the capabilities to do it. But the two didn't say anything. Regardless of who killed those 2, it had nothing to do with them. And Bailey Hongzhuang was still the benefactor that saved their lives. When Bailey Yuyan heard this, she was also stunned. She and Yi Yitong had kept in touch, and clearly knew the latter's strength. If she was right, besides her and Xian Yuanhuan, Yi Yitong and Tian Weiming were definitely the strongest here. But now the 2 were dead. Could that mean there were even stronger powers in the hunting field? Or, were they killed under Xian Yuanhuan's hand? Although Bailey Hongzhuang was cultivating peacefully, her spirit was actually very aware of her surroundings. The night seemed to be especially unpeaceful. The demonic beast's roars were far more than the last night, as if something had attracted its attention. According to her experience, something must have happened. At this moment, Little Black suddenly spoke up, its voice containing a trace of worry, Master, a group of beasts are surrounding us in all directions. Its target is us. Bailey Hongzhuang her eyes. A cold, dark blue light flickered inside her dark pupils. The air was filled with the stench of blood. Hell Wolf. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. She didn't expect for there to actually be hell wolves inside Luoxia Mountain. The strangest thing is that she'd never provoked them, so why would the hell wolves attack her for no reason? Hell wolves lived in packs. They were cruel and merciless by nature, their strength equivalent to mysterious earth late stage. Hell wolves and storm wolves were different. Storm wolves not only lived alone, but its speed was also incomparable to the hell wolves. If you were to ask a cultivator what demonic beast they wanted to avoid the most, all of them would definitely say hell wolves without the least bit of hesitation. A single hell wolf on its own wasn't bad, but their strength as a group was terrifying. Once surrounded by a group of them, the vast majority of cultivators would definitely die. A group of dreadful demonic beasts was something no cultivator wanted to provoke. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly got up, her sharp sword already in her hand. She had a faint premonition, this was a game. Chapter 141 Master, there's too many hell wolves for you to handle. It's better for you to let me or Little Black do it. Little White spoke. Although Bailey Hongzhuang was stronger than the hell wolves, she was heavily outnumbered. If all the hell wolves were to attack at once, Bailey Hongzhuang wouldn't be able to persist for long. Little Black nodded his head again and again, beginning to rub his fists. Just watch me beat up these bastards. That won't work. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lowered, you guys can't come out. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Little Black and Little White looked at each other. They immediately understood the meaning behind Bailey Hongzhuang's words. Someone's watching us here, so every action we do here will be seen. It's better to not take the risk. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were hard, this, I will do myself. Little Black and Little White knew that she was very serious about guaranteeing their safety. Although her strength still currently wasn't enough to protect them, she still didn't let them take any risks. If her calculations were right, then the pack of hell wolves must have been a plan set up a long time ago. Although she didn't know if this was done by another competitor or a third party, she knew for certain that some force was watching her. Therefore, she couldn't take any chances. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's confident speech, although Little Black and Little White turned silent, their hearts only grew all the more worried. Awoo! The hell wolves began to howl, pairs of dark, indigo eyes locking onto Bailey Hongzhuang's body, flickering with hunger. They already clearly regarded Bailey Hongzhuang as food. Killing her too fast wouldn't allay their hunger. At such a dangerous moment, Bailey Hongzhuang's heart was actually very calm. Hell wolves weren't her opponent. She just needed to save her strength and avoid making mistakes. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were filled with a vicious, cold light as her stare locked onto the hell wolves. A dense killing intent filled the air. Aowu, the hell wolves' king howled loudly. All the hell wolves seemed to have just gotten an order, at once charging at Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang's right leg suddenly stepped forward, mysterious and early-staged power erupting from her body. A hell wolf took the initiative to lunge at Bailey Hongzhuang. Its jaw was open wide, exposing its sharp teeth. If Bailey Hongzhuang fell down, it would definitely bite her neck. Bailey Hongzhuang's figure moved. She quickly dodged its lunge, and at the same time, poured chi into her sword, directly stabbing towards the hell wolf's most vulnerable place, the stomach. A head of copper, bones like iron, and tofu for its waist. That was how people described wolves. Under a group attack, she needed to save every drop of energy and kill a hell wolf with every strike. Only like this would the situation be turned around. TCH. The sound of sword piercing through flesh echoed. Bailey Hongzhuang lifted her left foot, directly kicking the hell wolf's corpse at another hell wolf. Slam! Thump! Bang! The hell wolves advanced dauntlessly in waves after waves, continuing to throw themselves at her. Bailey Hongzhuang's figure was like the wind. Her expression was calm and steady, from beginning to end, she never exposed the slightest trace of panic. As the family head of a famous clan, there was no counting how many bad situations she'd been in. It was only natural that she didn't feel any fear. An enchanting, scarlet flower bloomed on her white robes. The hell wolf's claw streaked across, leaving behind a bloody scar. But Bailey Hongzhuang seemed to feel no pain, the wound not affecting her movements at all. Every move was fast and accurate. The hell wolves fell down one after another. After seeing so many of their comrades being killed by Bailey Hongzhuang, the other hell wolves no longer dared to step forward. This was instinctual fear. Lu Huayan and Fu Hongbo couldn't say a word as they watched. Bailey Hongzhuang's performance had shocked them too much. They had also gone through this test, but their results couldn't even begin to be compared to Bailey Hongzhuang's. From those firm and far-sighted eyes, they could finally see a ripe spirit. This girl is very calm. Lu Huayan's face was filled with emotions. It was impossible for them to do this at Bailey Hongzhuang's age. They had even made preparations in case something happened. But now, it didn't seem like they need to do anything. Her mental strength is almost terrifying. Fu Hongbo's eyes shined brightly. He never thought that the one they didn't care for the most, Bailey Hongzhuang, would actually be the biggest harvest of this trip. No matter what, make sure to place her into the quota. Lu Huayan was sure that her future was limitless. This little Fengbo country would not be her stage. Fu Hongbo nodded in agreement, a bright, satisfied smile on his face. While the two people were talking, Bailey Hongzhuang looked suspiciously in their direction as she cut down more hell wolves. Her eyes, deep like ancient wells, flashed with cold light. Lu Huayan was startled, a trace of shock appearing in his eyes. This girl shouldn't be able to see us, right? With their cultivation, as long as they wanted to hide, nobody could find them. But Bailey Hongzhuang had clearly just looked at them. Impossible. It was probably just a coincidence. Fu Hongbo said slowly. Even so, his eyes couldn't help but flash with a trace of doubt. He had also felt Bailey Hongzhuang stare as if somebody really had seen them. But Bailey Hongzhuang was only an early-staged mysterious Ian cultivator. It was impossible for her spirit force to find them. The two stopped suspecting her. If Bailey Hongzhuang really was able to see then, that'd just be too frightening. While Bailey Hongzhuang was dealing with the hell wolves, many of the cultivators who heard the howls curiously came to watch. The prize for first place was just too tempting. The wolf howls became the focus of everyone's attention. The storm wolf might have appeared. But when everyone arrived and saw the pack of hell wolves, their faces all turned pale, at once preparing to run away. If a hell wolf found them, once they were surrounded, they'd truly be dying without even an intact corpse. But just as everyone started to leave, somebody suddenly shouted, "Somebody's inside the hell wolves." Hearing the shout, everybody's footsteps couldn't help but stop. They grew a little curious. Who was the unlucky egg that got surrounded by a pack of hell wolves? Quickly, look. The one inside is Bailey Honghoung. Everybody became completely astonished, one after another jumping up trees to look at the situation in the pack of wolves. Xiao Zifan and Xiao Yunqian also came. Hearing that it was Bailey Hongzhuang, the two looked at each other with alarm. This time, Bailey Hongzhuang's seriously screwed. Now she's destined to become the hell wolf's food. Everybody sighed with sorrow. Bailey Hongzhuang was too arrogant, and now she can only fall in the royal family's hunting competition. But when everybody climbed on the trees to see the hell wolves surround her, their eyes couldn't help but turn huge. They just couldn't believe the scene in front of them. Chapter 143. Bailey Hongzhuang's movements were like thunder, each strike with unparalleled speed. The hell wolves fell one after another, powerless. Her jade-like face was stained with blood. The dark red blood contrasted against her pure white skin, giving her an indescribable allure. How is this possible? Bailey Hongzhuang's trash, right? How could she kill so many hell wolves? You're trash. At the very minimum, Bailey Hongzhuang should at least be mysterious in early stage. Everybody gulped. None of them ever thought Bailey Hongzhuang was actually so powerful. If they were surrounded by so many hell wolves, they'd be long dead. What was especially scary was how Bailey Hongzhuang's face was calm and indifferent the entire time. The people who had originally called Bailey Hongzhuang trash felt their cheeks turn hot. If Bailey Hongzhuang was trash, what were they? Xiao Zifan and Xiao Yunqi looked at each other. Sure enough, what they thought was correct. Bailey Hongzhuang's strength was truly incredible. I wonder how many people would be shocked by this. Xiao Zifan sighed with emotion. Yunqi, I want to help. Earlier, Bailey Hongzhuang had helped them in their time of need. Now that Bailey Hongzhuang was in danger, he couldn't just watch without raising a finger. After being attacked by the flame civets last night, he had finally broken through to mysterious Earth late stage. Even though he knew his help wouldn't do much, he still wanted to go assist her. Only then can his conscience be clear. Hearing Xiao Zifen's words, Zhao Yunxi's eyes widened. Xiao Zifen, are you joking? Even if you broke through to late stage, going out to face that pack of hell wolves is the same as courting death. But Xiao Zifen's attitude remained firm. I already decided. Whatever the result is, I'll bear it myself. Finished speaking, Xiao Zifen no longer stayed, immediately heading towards Bailey Hongzhuang's direction. Zhao Yunxi quickly pulled Xiao Zifen's sleeve. Are you crazy? Xiao Zifen pursed his lips into a thin smile. When am I ever crazy? Moving his sleeve away, Xiao Zifen firmly walked towards the hell wolves. Zhao Yunxi stared blankly at his back. Watching Xiao Zifen's figure slowly fade away, she muttered, lunatic. As hell wolves were killed one after another, Bailey Hongzhuang slowly grew tired. She already tried her best to waste as little energy as possible, but each hell wolf had enormous strength. Every time she killed one, an enormous amount of energy had to be used. This isn't a good method. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned slightly. Her eyes flashed as she thought. Suddenly, a figure slowly made its way in front of her. Seeing its appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were filled with astonishment. Xiao Zifen. His clear, handsome face revealed a gentle smile as he plunged into the battle with no hesitation. His voice was soft as he spoke, I came to help you. EU waves appeared in her calm, black pupils. She never expected that Xiao Zifen would suddenly come to her aid. Bailey Hongzhuang was a little touched. It wasn't her intention to help Xiao Zifen last night, but now he's here risking his life for her. Just by this fact alone, Xiao Zifen became her friend. Be careful. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice dropped slightly. Although she knew Xiao Zifen had broken through to late stage, it was still dangerous for him to face the hell wolves. Chapter 144. When the crowd saw Xiao Zifen actually go to help Bailey Hongzhuang, their faces grew even more surprised. Is this Xiao Zifen stupid? Actually taking the initiative to throw away his life. Who would have imagined this guy was always just pretending to be dignified during the day, feigning righteousness? He deserved to die. Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiao Zifen stood back to back together. With Xiao Zifen's assistance, Bailey Hongzhuang had a lot less pressure. But Xiao Zifen and the Hell Wolf's strengths were very similar. Only a short time had passed and he was already covered in wounds. Bailey Hongzhuang's bright phoenix eyes narrowed as she stared at the Hell Wolf's king standing not so far away. Continuing this kind of fight was very disadvantageous for her and Xiao Zifen. Only by killing the Hell Wolf's king she would have them retreat. When I count to 3, run through this encirclement of hell wolves. Your safety is the highest priority. Bailey Hongzhuang lowered her voice. Xiao Zifen was startled, then what about you? I have a way to attract the hell wolf's king's attention. Hearing her words, Xiao Zifen glanced at Bailey Hongzhuang deeply before immediately nodding his head. You must be careful. Don't worry, my life isn't so small. I won't die this easily. Her red lips hooked up into a small smile, blooming on Bailey Hongzhuang's beautiful face enchantingly under the moonlight. 1, 2, 3. The instant Bailey Hongzhuang's voice fell, Xiao Zifen swiftly ran far away. At the same time, Bailey Hongzhuang ran in the opposite direction, moving to attack the Wolf's King. It was originally going to kill Xiao Zifen, but after seeing him run away and Bailey Hongzhuang charge at him, the Hell Wolf King changed its target to her. The pair of deep blue eyes grew faintly red. So many of its companions had died under Bailey Hongzhuang's hand, causing the Hell Wolf's King to hate her to the extreme. Bailey Hongzhuang's shadow flickered, using her full strength to dodge the attacks. The crowd of Hell Wolves was very dense. Inside, she could only wave her sword once again, sweeping away the obstacles. But the Hell Wolf King seemed to know that he was Bailey Hongzhuang's target. He lifted his head and howled loudly. Bailey Hongzhuang's exquisite face was icy, the depths of her eyes cold, shining with ruthless murderous intent. Master, this Hell Wolf King has also reached Mysterious Ian early stage. Your strengths are the same. Little White reminded her. Bailey Honghang slowly nodded her head, but her eyes didn't change, immediately brandishing her sword at the Hell Wolf's King. At the same time, the Hell Wolf King pounced on Bailey Hongzhuang. Its actions were cold and ruthless, its fangs wanting to directly tear Bailey Hongzhuang in half. Ding! Bailey Hongzhuang's sword clashed against the Hell Wolf King's fangs. A crisp sound rang out. The Hell Wolf King was completely unharmed, but the sword in Bailey Hongzhuang's hands had a large hole. Without waiting for Bailey Hongzhuang to recover, the Hell Wolf once again attacked. Watching the scene, many of the young cultivators wanted to turn their eyes away. They couldn't bear to see such a cruel scene. Without a weapon, Bailey Hongzhuang was not the Hell Wolf King's opponent. You could only blame Bailey Hongzhuang for being too arrogant to even be crazy enough to attack the Hell Wolf's King. Xiao Zifen had quickly left the Hell Wolves' encirclement. When he found that no Hell Wolves were chasing him, he couldn't help but sigh with relief, but his heart still worried for Bailey Hongzhuang. Chapter 145. Zhao Yunqi walked up to Xiao Zifen, her beautiful face filled with blame. Did you need to do that? Look at yourself, you're covered in cuts and bruises. She thought that Xiao Zifen was truly stupid. Yesterday Bailey Hongzhuang didn't really want to help them, but he still insisted on paying Bailey Hongzhuang back for her kindness. Xiao Zifen ignored Zhao Yunqi's words, immediately turning to look in Bailey Hongzhuang's direction. Inwardly, he prayed for her to also be safe. The Hell Wolf King threw itself at Bailey Hongzhuang. Everybody watched as the figures of a human and beast intertwined together, the heavy smell of blood permeating through the air. Bailey Hongzhuang died. Let's go. One man slowly spoke. This battle today had truly opened their eyes and expanded their horizons. Hearing so, everybody jumped one after another down the trees. Although Bailey Hongzhuang's strength had exceeded their expectations, the result was just as they thought. Xiao Zifen's face instantly turned pale. He really didn't want to see Bailey Honghang die like this. Don't look. You also knew it was impossible for Bailey Hongzhuang to defeat the Hell Wolf's King. Zhao Yunqi rolled her eyes. She really didn't understand why Xiao Zifen was so fixated on this. The Hell Wolf's King's strength didn't even lose by much to the Storm Wolf's. No matter who it was, they could only die. From the moment Bailey Hongzhuang was surrounded, she was already destined to fall. But when Zhao Yunqi glanced at the Hell Wolf's King, she suddenly saw a bloody figure getting up from the Wolf King's corpse. Zhao Yunqi pointed her finger, but her throat seemed to be stuck. The words just couldn't come out. Seeing Zhao Yunqi's appearance that looked as if she had seen a ghost, Xiao Zifen pursed his eyebrows thoughtfully. His eyes following the direction of Zhao Yunqi's finger, his ashen face quickly turned pleasantly surprised. Bailey Hongzhuang, you didn't die. His bright, excited voice rang out in the quiet mountains. The leaving cultivators' footsteps slowed as they turned around. What did they just hear? Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't dead. After the group of Hell Wolves saw their king die, there was no longer any thoughts of fighting left in their hearts, quickly running away into the thick forest. Everyone was stunned as they looked at the figure dyed in red, chaotic waves appearing in their hearts. What? Bailey Honghang defeated the Hell Wolf's King. I must be dreaming. The result was completely different from what everybody imagined. Even if Bailey Hongzhuang was Mysterious Ian early-staged cultivation, it still should have been impossible for her to kill the Hell Wolf's King. Ah! Could her cultivation actually be at the intermediate stage? Hearing the guess, almost all the cultivators wanted to instinctively refuse. But when they recalled Bailey Hongzhuang's performance, the words couldn't help but be stuck in their throats. The thin, bloody figure was especially eye-catching in the dark night. After such a big battle, Bailey Hongzhuang's face was graceful and indifferent as usual. Only her aura was a bit denser. Her back was straight, walking step by step. It seemed almost as if she had stepped on the apex, leaving only a bright red figure imprinted in everyone's minds. Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze slowly swept through the crowd before looking at her surroundings. In that instant, all the cultivators' eyes changed. Those sharp, icy eyes and cold gaze. None of them had the courage to face it. This was her aura. In that moment, everybody truly understood a single fact. Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't trash, but actually an unsurpassed talent. Bailey Hongzhuang finally arrived in front of Xiao Zifan and Zhao Yunxi. Before Xiao Zifan could speak, Bailey Hongzhuang had already forced a small pill into his mouth. What did you make him eat? Zhao Yunxi asked, startled. Zhao Yunxi, Bailey Hongzhuang wouldn't do anything to hurt me. Xiao Zifan's face didn't have even a trace of nervousness. If Bailey Hongzhuang wanted to kill him, he would have already died 1,000 times. The pill she fed him should be to heal him. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at Zhao Yunxi indifferently before turning back to Xiao Zifan. You're a lot smarter than her. Hearing her words, although Zhao Yunxi couldn't help but feel a little resentful, she wasn't able to find a good retort. Bailey Hongzhuang handed Xiao Zifan a white porcelain bottle. These are Jinchuang pills, its quality is very good. Thanks. Xiao Yifan accepted the Jinchuang pills, smiling. No need. Her clear, beautiful face beyond compare rippled with a faint smile. You came to help me even under such dangerous circumstances. You are my friend. She didn't care about why he did that, or if Xiao Zifan was only trying to pay her back from yesterday. He had disregarded his own safety just to lessen her pressure. Not many people could do that. I'm very honored. Xiao Zifan's smile was like the sun. He truly wanted to become Bailey Hongzhuang's friend. After this short time in contact with her, he knew that Bailey Hongzhuang definitely wasn't as unapproachable as they saw on the surface, and actually, her thinking was very simple. I'll leave first. If you ever need help with something, feel free to look for me. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at Zhao Yunxi's face full of displeasure and her lips curled into a thin arc. She didn't want to deal with a third unwanted guest. Xiao Zifan also understood what Bailey Hongzhuang meant. Without any objection, he said, there are many demonic beasts in the hunting field, please be careful. Don't worry. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled openly before turning away to leave. When everybody saw Bailey Hongzhuang leave, the originally taut atmosphere relaxed, everybody sighing with relief. Bailey Yuyan's really out of luck. Before she kept on calling Bailey Hongzhuang trash, I think now she was truly foolish. I heard Bailey Yuyan also broke through, now her strength is incomparable to before. Even if she broke through, do you really think she's Bailey Hongzhuang's opponent? The crowd fell silent. Everybody saw Bailey Hongzhuang facing against that group of hell wolves. They've all seen her strength with their own eyes. From the bottom of their hearts, they were certain Bailey Yuyan was not Bailey Hongzhuang's opponent. After leaving the battle place, Bailey Hongzhuang continued to walk forward. Earlier when she was fighting the Hell Wolves King, its blood had sprayed all over her body. Smelling the stench on her body, Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. Are there any rivers nearby? There's a river not so far away in the easy. Little Black piped up. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly nodded her head, turning to walk east. Reaching the river, she washed off all the blood reeking on her body before changing into fresh, clean robes. Finally, she stopped and sat down on a tree to rest. Master, the way the Hell Wolves just suddenly appeared earlier was very suspicious. I think somebody must have deliberately lured them here. Little White's voice was heavy. Bailey Hongzhuang understood the demonic beast's temperament. If someone didn't provoke the Hell Wolves, they wouldn't have attacked. Chapter 147. Her eyes that were black like ink flickered with coldness. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was icy and calm. Somebody was definitely behind this. It was nearly impossible that she made a low-level mistake like provoking a group of hell wolves, so a third party was the only possible explanation. Little Black frowned, but nobody competing in the hunting competition has the ability to do such a thing. The strongest competing cultivator's cultivation was only at mysterious Ian intermediate stage. Wanting to use the Hell Wolves King for themselves was nearly impossible for them. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a dark smile. There's no way a competing cultivator did this. It must be someone else. You mean, Little Black's fluff raised. Its heart also harbored the same suspicions. Right. One man and two beasts fell into silence, their hearts already certain. The next day. The sky bright, Bailey Hongzhuang opened her eyes. After a night's rest, her condition was restored by more than half. It's finally the last day. Today we'll look for the storm wolf. Bailey Hongzhuang narrowed her eyes, speaking slowly. Little Black and Little White smiled confidently. Now that Master came out, first place would definitely belong to Master. After searching for 2 days without even finding a trace of the storm wolf, Bailey Hongzhuang had roughly narrowed down its location. Now, she didn't hesitate to set out. Only a white figure could be seen, flying from tree to tree. She was calm and graceful, as if she was traveling on flat ground. The thistles and thorns didn't seem to affect her at all. The hunting field's air became tense. Today was the last day. All of their results will be announced. In other words, today was everybody's last chance. But while the cultivators were desperately searching for the storm wolf in the hunting grounds, the mood outside was filled with shock. Xianyuan Yutian and the chancellors listened to the imperial guard reporting the news in the hunting grounds, astonishment on all their faces. Last night, Chen Wangfei was surrounded by a flock of hell wolves. Xianyuan Yutian asked. The imperial guard immediately nodded his head, right. Chen Wangfei was encircled within a group of hell wolves alone. Xianyuan Yutan's heart dropped. For the past 2 days, he had been searching for information on Dibei Chen. Although he didn't get an exact answer yet, he was certain Dibei Chen would go back to fight for himself. For these 3 years, although he didn't treat Dibei Chen badly, he also had been very apprehensive about his so-called talent. In fact, he actually never thought Dibei Chen would ever return to office after living as a hermit on Mount Dongshan, figure. To make a comeback. But now, what he had thought was impossible had now happened. He knew about Dibei Chen's former identity. Once Dibei Chen took everything back, his status would undergo an earth-shaking change. Bailey Hongzhuang was Dibei Chen's Chen Wangfei. If she got into an accident, one can easily imagine Dibei Chen's reaction. When Bailey Zhentao, Su Wanjing, and Bailey Haoshuan heard the news, their eyes couldn't help but shine with happiness. Because of Bailey Hongzhuang's existence, it could even be said that their general's household had lost the most face it had ever lost before. Now that Bailey Hongzhuang was dead, they could only rejoice over her misfortune. That trash that only brought shame to their family never should have been born in this world. As the Imperial Guard looked at everybody's faces change, his own expression also turned a little strange. He still wasn't done speaking. Reporting back to the Emperor, my report still hasn't finished. Xianyuan Yutian frowned, what more? He didn't care about anything else that happened in the hunting fields, his mind full of ways to tell Dibei Chen about Bailey Hongzhuang's death. Chen Wangfei killed the Hell Wolves King alone by her own power, scaring the rest of the Hell Wolves away. Chapter 148. When everybody heard these words, time seemed to almost freeze. Everybody's eyes widened as they stared at the Imperial Guard, thinking that they must have misheard what he said. You. What did you say? Su Wanjing couldn't help but ask. What a joke. It was a group of hell wolves. How could Bailey Hongzhuang even get out alive, never mind kill the Hell Wolves King? After Su Wanjing asked, everybody's gaze once again landed on the Imperial Guard's body. This news was even more unbelievable than the sky falling down or the rain turning red. Chen Wangfei killed the Hell Wolves King alone by her own power, scaring the rest of the Hell Wolves away. The Imperial bodyguard repeated it again and again until everyone was sure that they didn't hear wrongly. But still, they just couldn't believe it. Did you see this with your own eyes? Li Qingqian questioned. He didn't believe Bailey Honghang had that much power. The guard slowly nodded his head, his face serious as he answered, yes. Everybody looked at each other. Even though the guard confirmed it, they still found it too hard to believe. A woman known as Trash actually killed a Hell Wolf King. A Hell Wolf King's strength was the mysterious Ian intermediate stage, ah. Until the Imperial bodyguard left, everyone was silent. If they didn't see it with their own eyes, they wouldn't believe it. Xianyuan Yutian and Jiang Jining glanced at each other. They were just as shocked as everyone else, unable to believe that was the truth. From Bailey Hongzhuang's recent actions, they already knew Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't simple. But now it seems that the general's household who took a heaven-gifted genius as trash, truly had no eyes. Originally they had thought Bailey Hongzhuang was unsuited to be the crown princess, no whether in etiquette or in strength. But now, it appeared that they had truly miscalculated. In the whole country, never before was there such an outstanding woman as Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Jintao fell in deep silence. Although other people didn't believe it, he did. He knew she wasn't weak since that time she stopped his fist, but he never expected her to be strong enough to slay a Hell Wolf King. Now, Bailey Yuyan might not even be her match. A hard-to-describe irritation and bewilderment enveloped Bailey Jintao's heart. He couldn't understand Bailey Hongzhuang's thoughts. Why did she pretend to be trash for all those years? Suddenly, Bailey Jintao's gaze fell upon Su Wanjing's body. Over these past few years, he had never even so much given a glance at Bailey Hongzhuang. Everything he knew about her was from Su Wanjing's mouth. He knew Su Wanjing definitely wouldn't treat Bailey Hongzhuang well. Being bullied every day was unavoidable. Could it be that Bailey Honghang only feigned ignorance to survive? When that thought surfaced in his mind, Bailey Jintao was even more convinced there hadn't been a flaw in his reasoning. If it wasn't like that, what gifted genius would like to be ridiculed? That stupid woman. A burning rage rose up in Bailey Jintao's mind. If not for her foolishness, how could the current general's household have fallen like this? Sensing Bailey Jintao's furious gaze, Su Wanjing couldn't help it but stare blankly, her mind filled with fear. And because of the current situation, she couldn't even bring herself to ask. Bailey Haoshuan's face had already turned extremely gloomy. How could that trash he always bullied turn out to be an even greater talent than him? Recalling Bailey Hongzhuang's haughty, disdainful face, he wanted to tear her body to shreds. Chapter 149. After 2 hours of searching, Bailey Hongzhuang finally locked down the Storm Wolf's location. According to usual Storm Wolf behaviors, besides here, there was nowhere else it would live. But when Bailey Hongzhuang neared the den, sounds of a fight suddenly appeared in front of them, causing her to frown. It seemed that somebody had found the Storm Wolf before she did, ah. Since someone took the initiative to attack, Bailey Hongzhuang didn't need to hurry. She slowly walked ahead, happy to watch a good play. A man and a Storm Wolf coiled around each other. The man was somebody Bailey Hongzhuang was rather familiar with. Xianyuan Huan. Amongst the cultivators competing this year, apart from her only Bailey Yuyan and Xianyuan Huan had reached the initial stage of Mysterious Ian. A person courageous enough to challenge the Storm Wolf could only be one of those two. A Storm Wolf's speed was like its name, just like a storm, exceptionally fierce. Even though it was Xianyuan Huan, as they fought, he slowly began to be suppressed. Xianyuan Huan continuously tangled with the wolf, his chi exploding as he brandished his sword. Traces of swords appeared and disappeared, moving with incomparable sharpness. His handsome face was serious, his eyes deep and earnest as he continuously tried to defeat the Storm Wolf. Looking at such a Xianyuan Huan, Bailey Hongzhuang's face couldn't help but change a little. Although nothing good could be said about his behavior, his strength wasn't bad. Before she had only seen the unscrupulous side of him, and actually never seen him so serious before. But even so, the disgust in her heart for Xianyuan Huan couldn't be changed. Although Xianyuan Huan's strength isn't bad, he still isn't the Storm Wolf's opponent. Little White focused on the fight in front of them, quickly determining which side was superior. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips hooked, her beautiful face bewitching and seductive. From beginning to end, Xianyuan Huan always lived in lukewarm waters. He can't use all of his strength. This was actually a deficiency most highborn cultivators faced. They possessed enough cultivation resources and with pretty good talent, they could easily be very strong with some effort. However, they had never experienced a life and death fight. Cultivating high was one thing, but actual fighting strength was something else. Only after having experienced a fight between life and death would all their potential be stimulated. Only after narrowly avoiding a visit to the Yellow Springs would they understand their weak points and learn how to fix them. Yellow Springs, Chinese underworld in mythology. Although it wouldn't appear early on in cultivation, as cultivators slowly grow and their insights of the world change, the gap would become very clear. In her previous life, though she grew up as the Lin family head, she was never allowed to be the least bit lazy. The reason why the Lin family had such a high status in the Xingxian continent was that their core was strong enough. All of the Lin family's younger generation were treated equally, leaving them when young in the mountain ranges to learn through experience. Each time there were no small number of casualties, but the cultivators who emerged successfully from the mountains had all undergone earth-shattering changes. And that was just the beginning. From the day she was born, her life was never destined to be easy. But even so, she never felt that the suffering was too much to bear. Because along with the suffering, she reaped a far bigger harvest. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Little Black and Little White nodded. Bailey Hongzhuang's sentence had stated it perfectly. Xianyuan Huan slowly lost his strength. Although he could still fight calmly, it was impossible for him to beat it now. Chapter 150 Clang. A sharp sound rang out in the air. Xianyuan Huan carelessly fell down in front of the Storm Wolf, his sword flying from his hands. Xianyuan Huan's face was full of panic. How could the Storm Wolf be so strong? Now that his weapon was gone, how could he face the Storm Wolf? Ah! Xianyuan Huan released a blood-curdling shriek. The Storm Wolf had bitten his arm. A crisp "ka" sound echoed. Xianyuan Huan's bones were snapped. Bailey Hongzhuang's face stayed indifferent. She and Xianyuan Huan never had a good relationship, so of course she wouldn't go out to save him. But Xianyuan Huan's luck was clearly good. Bailey Yuyan had suddenly appeared. Crown Prince. Seeing Xianyuan Huan's arm bitten by the Storm Wolf, Bailey Yuyan couldn't help but cry out in alarm. When Xianyuan Huan saw Bailey Yuyan appear, his pale face lit up with happiness. Bailey Yuyan, quickly save me. Bailey Yuyan repeatedly nodded her head. Don't worry, I will definitely come to save you. Although the situation was very dangerous, Bailey Yuyan's mood was actually very good. She never thought that today she would get a chance to save the Crown Prince. If she saved him, Bailey Yuyan was sure he would no longer be as disgusted with her. Bailey Yuyan quickly pulled out her sword before attacking the Storm Wolf without the slightest bit of hesitation. When the Storm Wolf saw Bailey Yuyan attack, it no longer bothered with Xianyuan Huan, turning to throw itself at her. Bailey Yuyan's heart was very tense. If even Xianyuan Huan couldn't beat the Storm Wolf, she was even less of an opponent for it. Seeing the Storm Wolf's attention turn to Bailey Yuyan, Xianyuan Huan sighed with relief. Although his arm was crippled, he still had his life. It looks like it'll be an interesting show. Bailey Hongzhuang sat on the treetop, her face indifferent as she watched the Storm Wolf fight hand to hand with Bailey Yuyan. Little black eyes flickered with excitement. Now that the Storm Wolf is attacking Bailey Yuyan, Master can save some effort. A woman like Bailey Yuyan shouldn't deserve to live in the world. If it wasn't for Xian Yuanhuan interfering earlier, Master would have already killed Bailey Yuyan. If the Storm Wolf killed Bailey Yuyan, they wouldn't need to personally dirty their hands. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a faint smile, her eyes bright as if she was enjoying a good play. Since Bailey Yuyan likes to play beauty saving the heroes so much, naturally we'll let her show off. As Bailey Hongzhuang was speaking, Bailey Yuyan was forced to shrink back step by step. Although her strength was pretty good in the beginning, her chi was quickly used up as she faced the Storm Wolf. She had already lost control of her body. Screams constantly rang out in the air. In just that brief span of time, Bailey Yuyan's body was already riddled with scars and wounds, drenched in blood. Xian Yuanhuan immediately took out a pill and swallowed it. He never thought that the wolf would actually be so strong, and although he wanted to help Bailey Yuyan, his wounds were too heavy. He was already incapable of fighting. Crown Prince. Bailey Yuyan couldn't help but call out. There was no chance for her to deal with the Storm Wolf alone. Suddenly, while Bailey Yuyan was trying to escape from the Storm Wolf, she accidentally saw Bailey Hongzhuang sitting up on a tree not so far away. Her pitch-black pupils were filled with anger. While they were being beaten black and blue by the Storm Wolf, Bailey Hongzhuang was actually watching them calmly like a joke. They weren't that convenient. Chapter 151. Bailey Yuyan's eyes were filled with ruthlessness. Before, Bailey Hongzhuang only managed to escape by a fluke. Since Bailey Hongzhuang went and sought death, her troubles could very well be shifted onto her. She, Bailey Yuyan, wasn't nice enough to act out a show for her to watch. For this reason, she wanted Bailey Hongzhuang to pay with her life. Master, Bailey Yuyan found you. Little Black voiced. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled indifferently. Oh well, we can just use this as an opportunity to dispose of her. The reason why she dared to watch the show so arrogantly on the treetops was because she simply didn't care if Bailey Yuyan or Xian Yuanhuan discovered her or not. Bailey Yuyan was completely silent. As she fought with the Storm Wolf, she slowly moved to the tree Bailey Hongzhuang was sitting on. Very quickly, Bailey Yuyan reached the spot under Bailey Hongzhuang's tree. But by then, her hibiscus embroidered robe was already dyed with blood. However, there was also a glint of excitement flickering in Bailey Yuyan's eyes. Bailey Hongzhuang, aren't you quite crazy? If you have the ability, then come down from the tree. Xian Yuanhuan had just noticed that Bailey Hongzhuang was atop the tree, but he didn't know from when she had been up there. Bailey Hongzhuang sneered, I am quite crazy, but still, why should I come down? Bailey Yuyan's eyes were filled with ridicule. All you know is to talk big when in fact, you're just trash with nothing good about you. When she heard the word trash, a trace of ruthlessness appeared in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes. Bailey Yuyan, this level of provocation is just too basic. Her beautiful, cold voice was filled with contempt as if she disdained Bailey Yuyan from the bottom of her heart. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang actually see through her thoughts, Bailey Yuyan's face turned somewhat ugly. But after a moment, Bailey Hongzhuang actually directly jumped down from the tree, her eyes looking straight at Bailey Yuyan. Ha, trash. Bailey Hongzhuang laughed madly, an arrogant expression appearing on her beautiful face. You keep on saying I'm trash, but you can't even defeat a Storm Wolf alone. You're the trash. Bailey Yuyan was startled. Meeting Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes, a chill couldn't help but arise from the depths of her heart. Her pupils, black as ink, seemed to be able to pierce through her heart. That noble air that seemed to stem from her bones couldn't help but make Bailey Yuyan feel inferior. In that moment, Bailey Hongzhuang seemed to have the aura of an emperor, a tyrannical aura erupting around her. A mere glance and her mind could no longer build up the slightest shred of resistance. Why was this happening? Bailey Yuyan screamed in her mind. Why was she so scared after a single glance from Bailey Hongzhuang? Under such an aura, she felt an indescribable pressure. You said I was trash. Bailey Yuyan forced herself to argue back, Then if you have the ability, why don't you kill the wolf? A charming smile formed in Bailey Hongzhuang's lips. I will show you what true strength is. Bailey Yuyan looked at Bailey Hongzhuang, shocked. This trash actually dared to fight the storm wolf? Xianyuan Huan was also astonished. Since Bailey Hongzhuang saw Bailey Yuyan fight the storm wolf, she definitely should have known how strong it was. How could she still dare to fight it? While the two were stunned, Bailey Hongzhuang had already walked up to face the storm wolf. The storm wolf's and the hell wolf king's strengths were roughly the same, but the storm wolf was faster whereas the hell wolf was stronger. Bailey Hongzhuang took out a sharp sword from her heaven-earth pouch. Fortunately she had bought it before the hunting competition started in case of an emergency. Now it was finally time to use it. Chapter 152. The qi in Bailey Hongzhuang's body stirred, mysterious Ian initial stage power erupting into the air. Mysterious Ian initial stage. Bailey Yuyan was terrified as she watched, stormy waves appearing in her heart, an indescribable shock engulfing her. How could Bailey Hongzhuang reach mysterious Ian initial stage? Before, she and Bailey Hongzhuang lived together. She was very familiar with Bailey Hongzhuang's strength. How could Trash reach mysterious Ian initial stage and become such a gifted genius in such a short time? You must know, although her cultivation was also at the initial stage of mysterious Ian, she was 1 year older than Bailey Hongzhuang. Although a 1-year gap looked like nothing to ordinary people, she knew the disparity in talent. With a 1-year difference, in the future, the gap could grow even bigger. She just couldn't imagine the Trash that she always humiliated under the sole of her feet would actually turn out to be even more gifted than her. Xianyuan Huan had a self-deprecating smile on his face. Before he had used every possible way to mock Bailey Hongzhuang when in fact, in her eyes he was the real fool. Mysterious Ian initial staged cultivation at 15 years old was fully deserving of being called a genius. Ding ding ding. Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was calm as she faced the vicious storm wolf without the slightest trace of fear. Her long double-edged suddenly stabbed forward. Each strike left behind a cut on the storm wolf's body. Bailey Yuyan watched, her heart filled with endless jealousy. Her body was covered in wounds without even one hit landing on the storm wolf. But Bailey Hongzhuang only used one strike to cut the wolf. Was there really such a big difference between the two of them? Awoo! The storm wolf couldn't help but howl loudly as Bailey Hongzhuang struck again and again. It could sense that this person was far stronger than the other two. The storm wolf's figure was like lightning, quickly disappearing before Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes. That was the most troublesome part about a storm wolf. Its speed was too fast for the eye to see. By the time the cultivator finally adjusted, the storm wolf would have already striked. Bailey Yuyan sneered in her heart. Bailey Hongzhuang was just talking big. She wanted to see what Bailey Hongzhuang would do now. But only a moment passed before Bailey Yuyan and Xianyuan Huan were astonished to find that Bailey Hongzhuang's figure had already disappeared from sight. Bailey Hongzhuang's shadow shifted. Shadow shifting was the Lin family's most outstanding movement skill, its effects naturally needn't be said. Ding! A sound rang out in the air. Hearing it, Bailey Yuyan and Xianyuan Huan knew that was where Bailey Hongzhuang and the storm wolf were fighting. Bailey Hongzhuang and the storm wolf's speeds were actually comparable to each other. Bailey Yuyan and Xianyuan Huan could finally see Bailey Hongzhuang's true speed. The storm wolf's speed didn't win against Bailey Hongzhuang's at all. In fact, the storm wolf was even faintly suppressed by her. Bailey Yuyan's face slowly changed as she watched. Bailey Hongzhuang's growth was just too fast. She couldn't let Bailey Hongzhuang continue anymore, or else it'd be impossible for her to kill Bailey Hongzhuang later. If she took advantage of the time while Bailey Hongzhuang was dealing with the storm wolf to mount a sneak attack, Bailey Hongzhuang definitely wouldn't be her opponent. Bailey Haoshuan's hatred and Su Wanjing's expectations floated into her mind. Bailey Yuyan's face turned merciless. She no longer hesitated, picking up her weapon to attack Bailey Hongzhuang. Chapter 153, What a Despicable Woman. Little Black cursed. This was the first time he had ever seen someone be so shameless. Bailey Honghang's face was cold, her eyes turning icy. That's just Bailey Yuyan's style. Since she wants to die, there's no reason for us to stop her. Her pitch-black pupils glowed with cold killing intent. Today is the day she personally kills Bailey Yuyan. Ding ding ding. The two weapons clashed. A sinister smile sat on Bailey Yuyan's face. Bailey Hongzhuang, so what if you're a genius? I definitely won't let you leave the hunting grounds alive. Such trash, you don't have the skill. Bailey Hongzhuang ridiculed. Hearing the contempt in Bailey Hongzhuang's voice, Bailey Yuyan's face turned ugly, impudent. Let's see how much longer you can act so arrogant. When Xianyuan Huan saw Bailey Yuyan actually mount a sneak attack on Bailey Hongzhuang, his face was shocked. Bailey Yuyan's actions were simply too outrageous. He had thought that Bailey Yuyan wanted to kill the Storm Wolf, not kill Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Yuyan's heart was truly too poisonous. He wanted to step up and protect Bailey Hongzhuang, but the arm that was bitten couldn't even hold a weapon. Fighting with one hand behind his back, only half of his fighting strength could come out. If he stepped forward, he was afraid that the Storm Wolf would directly bite off his neck in one move. Under the Storm Wolf and Bailey Yuyan's attacks, Bailey Hongzhuang's advantage slowly started to slip away. After all, they were all at the initial stage of Mysterious Ian. Little Black didn't know when he had jumped onto Bailey Yuyan's body. He only knew that this woman was simply too shameless, he just had to teach her a lesson. Bailey Yuyan attacked Bailey Hongzhuang's vital organs relentlessly. Suddenly, she frowned. A burst of pain appeared on the back of her head, but when she looked, there was nothing behind her. This was only Little Black's first attack. Very soon, intolerable pain stabbed at Bailey Yuyan's back, forcing her to retreat from the fight. She struggled to look at her back, but she still wasn't able to see clearly. But the thick bloodstains left on the ground told her that her back was already wounded. Her scarred face turned confused. Bailey Yuyan looked around suspiciously. Was there another person secretly attacking from somewhere in the forest? But after looking around and finding nothing, Bailey Yuyan prepared to jump back into the fight. But just as Bailey Yuyan moved, another stab of pain pierced her back. Who's attacking me? Bailey Yuyan shouted angrily. This feeling when she couldn't find who was doing it was just too unbearable. Nobody answered her. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at Bailey Yuyan indifferently. She knew that it was Little Black and Little White. Borrowing this opportunity, she could quickly deal with the Storm Wolf before finally finishing off Bailey Yuyan. Bailey Hongzhuang unleashed all her strength, raising her long, double-edged sword, she prepared to fight directly with the Storm Wolf. Seeing this, Xianyuan Huan could only think Bailey Hongzhuang was mad. A demonic beast's body was very strong. The human body simply couldn't even begin to compare to it. He had never seen a cultivator actually dare to recklessly face a demonic beast up front, but now it was happening in front of his very eyes. Breaking storm. Bailey Hongzhuang shouted coldly. The chi stored within her body rotated strangely, forming a tyrannical force above her fists. Bailey Hongzhuang's shadow shifted, her fist like lightning as she punched the Storm Wolf's waist with a boom. She used her strongest and most powerful attack to strike at the Storm Wolf's weakness. She wanted to kill the Storm Wolf as soon as possible. This was the best way. Bang! A loud bang echoed. Xianyuan Huan and Bailey Yuyan could only see a body fly in the air, landing heavily on the ground, making a cloud of dust. When the two saw the body on the ground, they sucked in a cold breath. It was the Storm Wolf. They were very clear about just how powerful the Storm Wolf was. But Bailey Hongzhuang just used a fist to send the Storm Wolf flying. Bailey Hongzhuang took advantage of the confusion to attack. Her sword reappeared in her hands, stabbing into the Storm Wolf's struggling body. Chi! Blood squirted into the air. Bailey Hongzhuang's face was indifferent as she briskly waved her sword, taking its demonic core. First place was hers. After she strared the demonic core away, Bailey Hongzhuang turned to face Bailey Yuyan. Little Black also quickly jumped back on Bailey Hongzhuang's head. Now, it's your turn. Her words were cold and apathetic, voice cloaked with killing intent. Bailey Hongzhuang's pupils shone with ruthless light. She won't miss this chance to kill Bailey Yuyan. Bailey Yuyan never thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would be able to deal with the storm wolf so fast. Thinking of the sword soaked in blood, she grew anxious and couldn't help but stumble backward. Bailey Hongzhuang, what do you think you're doing? Bailey Yuyan asked, flustered. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled demonically. She raised her black eyebrows, her voice bewitchingly low. You say, what do you think I'm doing? Bailey Yuyan looked at the unfamiliar Bailey Hongzhuang, unconcealed killing intent in her black pupils. She was very clear, Bailey Hongzhuang wanted to kill her. Do you know the consequences of killing me? Bailey Yuyan's face was pale. She knew that her strength wasn't an opponent for Bailey Hongzhuang at all. Ha! Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but laugh. Her face suddenly changed, her eyes turning cold like a glacier. Who do you think you are? If I want to kill someone, do I need to worry about the consequences? Bailey Yuyan was startled, and couldn't help but swallow. Bailey Hongzhuang's words really left her speechless. Watching Bailey Hongzhuang walk step by step, Bailey Yuyan felt like she was stepping on her own heart. Her hand that held the sword couldn't help but tremble. Father won't let you off. Bailey Yuyan continued to persuade Bailey Hongzhuang. If she could leave the hunting grounds safely, she could always take revenge later. It's not him that won't let me off, it's me. That won't let him off. Accept death. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were impatient. At first, she thought that Bailey Yuyan would still pick up her weapon and attack, but she didn't think she actually didn't even have the courage to fight. Crown Prince. Save, traceless kill. Her sword flickered. Bailey Yuyan's body fell to the floor. Before her words, save me, could finish, Bailey Yuyan had already died under Bailey Hongzhuang's sword. Before Bailey Yuyan had poisoned her blind, and even let her live a life worse than death. Later, she destroyed Bailey Hongzhuang's appearance and dreams. Then she no longer cared about her. And now, Bailey Yuyan was just reaping what she had sown. Being kind to an enemy was being cruel to oneself. She won't give Bailey Yuyan another chance to try and kill her. Chapter 155. Bailey Yuyan looked at Bailey Hongzhuang incredulously. Even now, she still couldn't believe that she died under the hands of the same trash she had always disdained. Xianyuan Huan watched, speechless for a very long time. Everything happened too quickly. Before he could react, Bailey Yuyan was already dead. Taking Bailey Yuyan's pouch, Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at Xianyuan Huan indifferently before turning to the hunting field's exit. She already got the storm wolf's demonic core. Now as long as she can leave the hunting grounds alive, first place was hers. As for killing Bailey Yuyan, as long as Xianyuan Huan didn't say anything, she didn't care. Watching her white robe fade into the forest, Xianyuan Huan's heart was in chaos, filled with complicated feelings. From the beginning, they were always blind. Bailey Hongzhuang was never trash. Only Di Bei-chen truly had eyes, they were just fools. As Bailey Hongzhuang walked to leave the hunting field, everybody turned to stare at her. The fact that Bailey Hongzhuang had been in that fight against the Hell Wolves had shocked many people. Now they didn't only know that Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't trash, but that she also was extremely talented in fighting. Originally they had thought the champion was sure to be Xianyuan Huan or Bailey Yuyan, but now they knew Bailey Hongzhuang was also very likely to get first. Xiao Zifan and Zhao Yunxi were just looking for the storm wolf, even though they knew it was impossible for them to kill it with their own strength. Being unable to hold back their curiosity, they wanted to witness the cultivator who would fight against the storm wolf. While they were searching, Xiao Zifan's gaze was suddenly locked on a white figure. In this emerald green forest, that moving white figure was especially eye-catching. Bailey Hongzhuang? Xiao Zifan asked, surprised. When Bailey Hongzhuang heard Xiao Zifan's call, her quiet and exquisite face lit up with an elegant smile. We meet again. Xiao Zifan led an unwilling Zhao Yunxi in front of Bailey Hongzhuang. Right now we are searching for the storm wolf. Are you preparing to go back? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. There's no need to look anymore, the storm wolf is already dead. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Xiao Zifan and Zhao Yunxi were both startled. The storm wolf is already dead? Who killed it? The storm wolf wasn't easy to handle. Almost all the cultivators wanted to go and watch the show, but they never thought that it'd end before they even got there. The surrounding cultivators also turned to look at Xiao Zifan and Bailey Hongzhuang curiously. Since Bailey Hongzhuang was heading back, she should know something they didn't. I killed it. Bailey Hongzhuang said calmly. You killed the storm wolf? Zhao Yunxian asked, raising his voice. The fact that Bailey Hongzhuang was able to kill the Hell Wolf King truly exceeded her expectations, but she really didn't expect for Bailey Hongzhuang to be able to kill the storm wolf too. This time, the prize for first place was very rich and definitely should have belonged to Xian Yuanhuan. But now, how could Bailey Hongzhuang snatch it away? Zhao Yunxi's voice very loud, and all the surrounding cultivators heard those news. Suddenly, the gazes directed at Bailey Hongzhuang grew fiery. Zhao Yunxi wasn't able to control her voice and accidentally shouted it. The news spread as some cultivators stared at Bailey Hongzhuang, wanting to steal away the demonic core. After all, the emperor said whoever could bring the demonic core back, not whoever could kill it. Chapter 156. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned a little, her view of Zhao Yunxi becoming a little bit worse. Even though she had faith in her own strength, Zhao Yunxi's actions were tantamount to throwing her to the wolves. Xiao Zifan's face turned ugly, immediately speaking, Yunxi didn't do it on purpose, I'll apologize for her. He and Zhao Yunxi knew each other for many years. He knew she was only flustered and had lost her temper in a moment of impulse. But her heart wasn't bad and absolutely didn't intend to cause trouble for Bailey Hongzhuang. I didn't do it on purpose. Zhao Yunxi's tongue got twisted as she talked. Although she did not want to apologize to Bailey Hongzhuang, this time it was truly her mistake. The displeasure in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes slightly faded away. From Zhao Yunxi's attitude, she knew this apology came from her heart. I'll leave first. Bailey Hongzhuang said, unhurried. Although there were quite a few cultivators that heard it, there weren't too many. These people wouldn't dare to do anything. Xiao Zifan nodded continuously, we'll go back with you. The news would spread quickly, so it was only inevitable for some cultivators to harbor bad intentions. After all, the temptation of a spirit beast was just too tempting. Zhao Yunxi didn't speak. Everything was because of her, so it was only right for her to do this. Hearing so, Bailey Hongzhuang didn't refuse, let's go. Xiao Zifan was her friend. If she declined, Xiao Zifan and Zhao Yunxi would definitely think that she took offense, creating tension in their relationship. Sure enough, seeing Bailey Hongzhuang agree, a happy smile spread on Xiao Zifan's face. Fervent gazes stared after the three figures fading away into the forest. If they could defeat Bailey Hongzhuang, first place was theirs. Not only would they get the spirit beast they yearned for in their dreams, they would also bring honor to their ancestors, their reputation spreading far and wide. Feeling the eyes of the crowd, Bailey Hongzhuang's cold eyes swept through the crowd of people, indifferent and ruthless. The cultivators' originally fiery hearts seemed to have been doused by a bucket of cold water. How could they forget how strong Bailey Hongzhuang's strength was to be capable of killing both the Hell Wolf's king and the Storm Wolf? That one night, a girl facing the crowd in a crimson, blood-dyed dress gave everybody a scene they could never forget. Although a spirit beast was good, they also needed to enjoy life. They still remembered Bailey Hongzhuang's cruel, ruthless gaze after she killed the Hell Wolves. If they attacked Beili Hongzhuang, they were afraid Beili Hongzhuang would ruthlessly strike them dead. Their pounding hearts stopped. The crowd turned their eyes and walked away. And the crowd turned and continued to walk forward. Although they heard Zhao Yunqi's words, they all wanted to see the storm wolf's corpse with their own eyes. Watching the crowd leave, Beili Hongzhuang retracted her gaze before continuing to walk calmly towards the hunting grounds entrance. Xiao Zifan and Zhao Yunqi looked at each other. After the battle with the Hell Wolves, Beili Hongzhuang's fame had already spread far and wide. They only needed to look at their motionless hands to know the allure first place held. That strength was something only a few people possessed. I didn't think that the storm wolf would actually be killed by Beili Hongzhuang. I was sure that the crown prince would get first. Why don't you just steal it? As long as we beat Beili Hongzhuang, first place is ours. What a joke. Haven't you seen Beili Hongzhuang's eyes? If we attack, I'm afraid our end will be even worse than the wolf's. Everybody sighed with regret. When everyone heard the emperor declare the rules, they had already secretly decided to attack whoever killed the storm wolf for the demonic core. But Xianyuan Huan, the most likely person, was the one everyone had prepared for. Chapter 157. They didn't expect that the person who killed the storm wolf wasn't Xianyuan Huan, the person they had prepared for. The former waste has now terrorized every single one of them. On the high platform above the hunting grounds, the emperor and his chancellors ate pastries and drank tea, their eyes falling from time to time on the hunting field's exit. Today was the hunting competition's final day, the day where the results will be announced. The empress, Jiang Jinying's eyes were filled with eagerness. She was sure Xianyuan Huan's strength was definitely enough to get first place. She truly couldn't wait to see Xianyuan Huan. Su Wanjing was also excited. Although Beili Hongzhuang's strength surpassed her expectations, she was certain Beili Yuyan's strength was enough to get second place. Although everybody exchanged greetings warmly, their focus had long been shifted. Suddenly, a noise sounded at the hunting field's exit, attracting everybody's attention. Never mind what achievements they got inside the hunting grounds, even getting out alive was pretty good. But they all hoped that whoever came out first got first place. 3 figures appeared under the crowd's intense stares. When everybody saw the woman in front, their faces all turned a little strange. The first one to come out was actually Beili Hongzhuang. Although this result was beyond everybody's expectations, their hearts also couldn't help but be a little curious. The imperial bodyguard said Beili Hongzhuang killed the Hell Wolf King. After they heard the report, they still needed a very long time to accept it. Their hearts were just too shocked. Why did Qin Wangfei come out first? Did she already kill the storm wolf? What a joke. Even if Qin Wangfei isn't trash anymore, she still isn't His Highness, the Crown Prince or Beili Yuyan's opponent. In my opinion, I think His Highness, the Crown Prince already killed the storm wolf, so Qin Wangfei no longer saw any point in leaving the hunting field first. Hearing his words, everybody nodded one after another. That was probably what had actually happened. Beili Hongzhuang didn't pay any attention to everyone's conjectures. Xiao Zifan and Zhao Yunqi bowed and greeted the emperor before going to sit in the resting area. The results of the hunting competition are only announced after everybody comes out of the hunting grounds, so for now, they could have a break. Zhao Yunqi sat in a soft, comfortable chair. Feeling her body relaxing, she thought this truly was the best. For the past 3 days, her body and mind were always tense. She didn't even dare to sleep well, afraid of the demonic beasts attacking at night. If they didn't react on time, they would lose their lives. Tasting the bitterness and hardship, she knew that kind of life was too unbearable for her. She never wanted to do it again. Xiao Zifan's heart was a bit tenacious. Although the life in the mountain ranges was definitely tough, he knew one couldn't achieve glory and wealth without having been through trials and tribulations. This was to reach the top. In these 3 days, he made even more progress than he did when he was cultivating at home for 3 months, and even managed to successfully break through to the late stage of Mysterious Earth. Although he didn't get into the top 3 this time, these gains were already a great surprise. Bailey Hongzhuang sat down calmly. There wasn't a single trace of tiredness on her beautiful face, every move rippling with elegance. It almost looked as if she had never gone into the hunting fields and was sitting there all along. Bailey Haoshuan stared at Bailey Honghang. He had thought Bailey Hongzhuang would die in the hunting fields but didn't expect she would actually have such great luck. Chapter 158, It's a Bluff. Bailey Haoshuan snorted coldly, just wait until sister comes back, I want to see how she'll act then. A ruthless light flickered past Su Wanjing's eyes, even if this trash was lucky enough to come out alive this time, it won't be long until she dies. Bailey Hongzhuang's fight with the Hell Wolves caused everyone to reevaluate her. She absolutely mustn't let Bailey Hongzhuang steal away Bailey Yuyan's limelight. As soon as the hunting feast was over, she will look for a hitman. No matter what, she needed this trash dead. Very quickly, cultivators began to leave the hunting grounds. Seeing their children come out safely, the various officials couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Regardless of their child's achievements, so long as they were safe and sound, they would be happy. But while almost all the cultivators were out of the hunting grounds, the crowd's 2 most anticipated cultivators, Xianyuan Huan and Bailey Yuyan, still didn't leave the hunting grounds for a long time. Doubt appeared in everybody's eyes. Why is His Highness, the Crown Prince, still not out yet? Could he still be fighting with the Storm Wolf? Maybe the Storm Wolf is just very hard to deal with. Then taking a lot of time would only be natural. Hearing the court chancellors talk on the stage, all the competition cultivators stared at Bailey Hongzhuang. Xianyuan Huan and Bailey Yuyan were killing the Storm Wolf? Ha! The real Storm Wolf was already killed by Bailey Hongzhuang. Ah! Time slowly passed by. Finally, everybody saw a bright yellow figure come out of the hunting field. Huaner. Seeing the familiar robe, Jiang Jinying couldn't help but get up and smile. He finally came out. But when Jiang Jinying saw Xianyuan Huan's body, her face couldn't help but turn pale. Because, his bright yellow robes were dyed red with blood. She could tell from Xianyuan Huan's face that his injury was serious. Jiang Jinying immediately went over, at once reaching Xianyuan Huan. Xianyuan Huan was her only son. Now seeing Xianyuan Huan suffer such a serious injury, her heart was stabbed with pain. Huaner, what happened to you? Jiang Jinying's face was filled with concern, about to pull Xianyuan Huan's hand. But when she pulled, Jiang Jinying's face grew even paler. Your hand, Xianyuan Huan's face was bitter. He never thought he'd come out of the hunting competition with such an appearance. Xianyuan Yutian's face also changed. Although he knew that there would always be casualties at the hunting feast and that this year was even more difficult than the previous ones, he had believed that Xianyuan Huan's strength was enough. But now Xianyuan Huan wasn't just hurt, but seriously injured. All the court chancellors were shocked. Xianyuan Huan was at the initial stage of Mysterious Ian, but still got seriously injured. From this, you could clearly see just how strong the Storm Wolf truly was. The competing cultivators all couldn't help but suck in a cold breath. Xianyuan Huan's hand was already completely mutilated. Even as the crown prince, it still wasn't easy for him to fully heal his injury. He had already prepared for the imperial physicians to assist Xianyuan Huan and bind his wound before quickly treating the other cultivators' injuries as well. Seeing Xianyuan Huan so seriously hurt, Bailey Zhentao grew somewhat heavy. Even now, they still haven't seen Bailey Yuyan come out. A loud gong sounded. The hunting competition was over. The hunting field's entrance closed. It would only open on the day of the next hunting competition. Chapter 159. Watching the exit, Bailey Zhentao's face was gloomy as he stood up. Emperor, my daughter still hasn't come out. Hearing that, everybody looked at Bailey Jintao curiously. Bailey Yuyan's strength was ranked amongst the best in the group of competing cultivators, so the fact that she still hasn't come out was truly a bit strange. A trace of astonishment flickered past Xianyuan Yutian's eyes, his voice sinking, "There's nobody left in the hunting field." When these words came out, everybody fell in shock. For a moment, Bailey Jintao didn't react to Xianyuan Yutian's words. After he was clear, his shock took over his dignified face. Impossible. Bailey Yuyan still hasn't come out of the hunting grounds, but they said that there wasn't anybody left in the field. Doesn't that mean that Bailey Yuyan's dead? When he first heard it, Bailey Jintao thought it was absolutely preposterous. With Bailey Yuyan's strength, it was simply impossible for her to have died there. Li Qingqian was also somewhat surprised, but his surprise was actually a pleasant one. Now that Bailey Yuyan died, the general's household would definitely be much weaker. Only Bailey Haoshuan was left, and right now he was just a cripple. Yuyan definitely couldn't have died. Su Wanjing immediately yelled, her face completely firm. Almost nobody believed it. They all knew Bailey Yuyan's strength. Unless something like Bailey Hongzhuang's situation happened and she got surrounded by hell wolves, it shouldn't have been possible for her to die. But at this moment, Xianyuan Huan slowly opened his mouth. Bailey Yuyan really did die. Xianyuan Huan's words were like tossing a stone into a calm lake. As soon as he spoke, everybody stared intensely at him. Since Xianyuan Huan had personally confirmed it, then it probably was true. Bailey Yuyan had died. This news swept over everybody's hearts. Even the competing cultivators' faces were filled with shock. Did you see it with your own eyes? Bailey Haoshuan asked, unresigned. Xianyuan Huan slowly nodded, yes. When Xianyuan Huan's voice fell, Su Wanjing's face instantly turned deathly pale, falling limply to the ground. No. It's impossible. Su Wanjing trembled, her face full of disbelief. She was waiting for Bailey Yuyan to return with glory. How could she have died in the hunting field? Bailey Haoshuan looked at Xianyuan Huan in a daze. He was very clear about Xianyuan Huan's identity. There was no reason why he would lie, because there simply wasn't a need to. But his sister's strength was so strong, how could she have died? Bailey Jintao's face was gloomy. Although inside his heart was filled with shock, he didn't lose his manners. Excuse me, Your Highness, Crown Prince, may I ask how Yuyan died? Bailey Jintao asked. Master, will Xianyuan Huan say what really happened? Little White asked, worried. Bailey Hongzhuang was indifferent. Even if he tells the truth, dead men tell no tales. What evidence does he have? Since she dared to kill Bailey Yuyan in front of Xianyuan Huan, she had already long thought of the consequences. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang so confident, Little White smiled, oh, that's true. Plus, he won't tell the truth. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled softly. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Little Black and Little White were flabbergasted. They couldn't understand why Bailey Hongzhuang said that. But Xianyuan Huan's answer soon made Little Black and Little White want to prostrate themselves in front of her in admiration. Bailey Yuyan was killed by the storm wolf. Xianyuan Huan said slowly, to say the truth, my injury was also due to the storm wolf. Everybody looked at Xianyuan Huan's mutilated hand and swallowed. The storm wolf was truly too fierce. Xianyuan Huan, even with his strength, got so seriously injured. Bailey Yuyan was still somewhat weaker than Xianyuan Huan, so being killed by the storm wolf really wasn't impossible. Thinking up to there, Bailey Jintao's face seemed to have suddenly aged 10 years, his high-spirited aura of a general suddenly diminishing. The past 6 months were like a dream for him. He didn't dare to believe that the general's household power has been reduced to this pitiful state in such a short amount of time. Now even Bailey Yuyan died. The general's household strength is far weaker now. Currently the general's household only has Bailey Haoshuan. It's good that he didn't participate in the hunting competition, otherwise the general's household would truly cease to exist. That's not only it. Chen Wangfei is a newly rising talent, but the general's household didn't know how to cherish the pearl. Everyone's gazes turned to stare at Beili Hongzhuang and Beili Haoshuan's bodies. No matter how they looked, Beili Haoshuan just simply couldn't even be compared to Beili Hongzhuang. After a brief amount of time to rest, Xianyuan Yutian spoke, "Now we will begin to announce the top 3 competitors in the hunting competition." When Xianyuan Yutian's voice fell, the atmosphere suddenly changed. The moment suddenly became incredibly tensed. If they could get into the top 3 for the royal family's hunting competition, not only could they receive rich awards, but their names would also be known all over Feng Bo country. Xianyuan Yutian's face slowly revealed a smile. "For first place, who has the Storm Wolf's core?" All the chancellor's eyes fell on Xianyuan Huan's body. Although his injuries were very serious, no one but him had the strength to win against it. The situation became very strange. On the high platform, the chancellors stared at Xianyuan Huan. On the ground, everybody else turned to Beili Hongzhuang. Seeing this scene, the chancellors' faces all changed somewhat. What did this mean? Could it be that Beili Hongzhuang had the Storm Wolf's demonic core? Xianyuan Yutian and Zhao Yunxi had doubt on their faces. It seemed this time the hunting competition truly had many variables. The next moment, Beili Hongzhuang slowly stood up. Above her slim, fair palm appeared the Storm Wolf's demonic core. The demonic core was azure in the sun, emitting a captivating luster, energy fluctuations faintly permeating in the air. This was the power of a demonic core. All the Storm Wolf's strength was stored in its core. It was incredibly valuable. Xianyuan Yutian and the rest could all recognize the Storm Wolf's core with a glance. Until they saw Beili Hongzhuang take out the demonic core with their own eyes, didn't believe it. First place was Beili Hongzhuang's. Beili Hongzhuang actually got first in the royal hunting competition, truly too incredible. And even His Highness, the Crown Prince, got seriously injured, but Beili Hongzhuang came out unscathed. Did that mean she was stronger than His Highness? Everyone's eyes changed. Before they hadn't personally seen Beili Hongzhuang's strength and always had some suspicions about what happened. Now that everything was an ironclad fact, they were completely convinced. The sunlight spilled on a white figure, casting a faint gold shimmer on her body. Her delicate, beautiful face rippled with a clear, faint smile, not proud, not impatient. Even though she was first place with all its glory, her face was still indifferent. Such a bearing was already something the mass majority of cultivators there were unable to have. The winner of the hunting competition was actually the somebody known in the imperial city as Trash. The general's household family truly had no eyes. Did you see how ugly General Beili's face was? Now his intestines have probably turned blue from regret. Ah, that's true. If Beili Hongzhuang was still one of the general's household's people, the general's household's future would truly be limitless. I really fail to understand how General Beili's wise. He can't even handle simple family matters. Even though everybody spoke quietly, Beili Zhentao could still hear every word. In fact, even if he didn't hear them speak, he already knew their way of thinking. He had expelled a perfectly good talent that could have brought glory to their ancestors. Now, everybody saw him as a fool. Thinking a little, Beili Zhentao felt his face heat up. Today, Beili Hongzhuang's performance had truly destroyed their face. TL note: face in Chinese is used synonymously with pride, who was known as Trash. A person capable of easily winning the hunting competition was known as Trash. Then what would everyone else competing be known as? Under everybody's eyes, Su Weining was even more ashamed. At this moment, Beili Hongzhuang's future was boundless. Thinking back, she was truly embarrassed. A court eunuch took the demonic core from Beili Hongzhuang's hand and brought it to Xianyuan Yutian. When Xianyuan Huan looked at the core in his hands, his lips raised to expose a pleased smile. This really is the storm wolf's core. Chen Wangfei truly wasn't simple. Bailey Hongzhuang performed the courtesy, "Your Majesty is too generous." Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's elegant appearance as she performed the courtesy, everybody's hearts were moved. This was a true genius. After confirming Bailey Hongzhuang was the winner, the other cultivators took out the demonic cores they had collected in the hunting grounds. Second and third place was determined by the number of demonic cores you held. Xianyuan Huan was fully deserving of second place, and Xiao Zifen was third. At first Xiao Zifen was surprised when he saw the results, but then soon understood. Many of the demonic cores were from when he helped Bailey Hongzhuang face off against the crowd of hell wolves. Demonic beasts weren't very common, so it'd usually take a long time to find one. Only when he was surrounded by a flock was he able to get so many, so quickly. He had a lot of cores, but the amount Bailey Hongzhuang held was probably incomparable to anyone else's here. Even Xianyuan Huan wouldn't have enough. After crowning the top 3, Xianyuan Yutian gave the awards on the spot. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the demonic beast egg in her hands, a small smile slowly appearing on her face. Her spirit beast was just inside the eggshell. Demonic beast eggs weren't unhatched demonic beasts, but were actually young demonic beasts sealed with a mysterious technique. Usually demonic beasts were unwilling to be spirit beasts, so they would be sealed when they're young and would only come out of the shell after they've formed a contract with somebody. Xianyuan Huan got the bone cleaning pill and Xiao Zifen received his lotus cloud fungoid. Everybody stared at Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two enviously. From today on, their names would be known all over the country. In the crowd, just as the hunting feast's curtain began to close, two figures slowly made their way to the high platform. Everybody looked at two men curiously. With their experience, they naturally knew the two's identities weren't simple. "We pay respects to the emperor." Xianyuan Yutian smiled when he saw the two men. "Teacher Lu, Teacher Fu, please get up." Chapter 162, These two are the Azure Water School's recruiting teachers. Xianyuan Huan introduced the two to everyone. Hearing the name, Azure Water School, everyone's faces changed. The young cultivator's enthusiasm grew even more, gazing excitedly at the landing teacher Lu Huayan and Fuhongbo Azure Water School, situated between Fengbo Country and Clear Flame Country's borders. They were a school specialized for producing talented cultivators. Every young cultivator dreamed of one day entering this place. Becoming a student of Azure Water School was already a great honor in itself. Nowadays, if a person were to say they were from Azure Water School, everybody would turn to look at them with respect and admiration. That place was full of talents and abundant resources. If a cultivator could enter, their cultivating speed would be far faster than anything they could achieve at home. The only thing was, Azure Water School's entry requirements were very strict. Each year, only a few cultivators were able to enter. Every entry day, Azure Water School would send a few teachers to recruit new talents. If the teacher thought you had talent, they would ask you to go to the Azure Water School when the moment comes to participate in the examination. You had one sole chance to participate in the exam and that was it. Only after passing it would your ability be enough to be allowed entry into Azure Water School. Apart from this, there was still another exception. Very rarely, Azure Water School had a kind of invitation letter. If a teacher believed firmly in a cultivator, they would bestow them an invitation letter. When the time came, the cultivator didn't need to take the exam and could directly enter Azure Water School. A student capable of earning such a letter undoubtedly had talent. From a young age, their strength should have always been the strongest among their peers. The youthful faces were all a bit nervous. The recruiting teachers appeared so suddenly. It was quite possible for them to have found a cultivator they liked, maybe it was them. Bailey Hongzhuang also stared when Lu Huayan and Fu Hongbo appeared. According to Xianyuan Yutian's and the others' earlier reactions, she knew the one little black and little white had sensed back then weren't them. That means the ones who were watching earlier must have been Lu Huayan and Fu Hongbo. In that case, The Hell Wolves' attack were also because of them. Lu Huayan and Fu Hongbo sensed Beili Hongzhuang's stare, their faces exposing a friendly smile. Beili Hongzhuang stopped watching them, her face completely indifferent. Regarding the two men who placed her in danger, she had no desire to smile back at them. Seeing Beili Hongzhuang's attitude, Lu Huayan and Fu Hongbo didn't mind, turning to speak. Emperor, we've found two pretty good seedlings in the hunting competition. Hearing them, Xianyuan Yutian smiled. His gaze couldn't help but fall on Beili Hongzhuang's body. Beili Hongzhuang had the best performance in this year's hunting competition. It was simply incomparable to anyone else's. Earlier he had wanted to take the chance to send Huaner to study at Azure Water School since he believed that Huaner's strength was definitely enough to shine brightly in the hunting competition. But he never thought that Beili Hongzhuang was even stronger. The important seedling Lu Huayan and Fu Hongbo found was most likely Beili Hongzhuang. Everybody suddenly understood. It was no wonder that the rewards were so rich, it because Azure Water School was also attending. The richer the award, the higher the competitor's morale will be. A higher morale meant that they would show a better performance, thereby possibly attracting the Azure Water School's teachers' attention. Chapter 163, I wonder which two cultivators the teachers have chosen. Although he already knew the answer, Xianyuan Yutian still asked. The Crown Prince, Xianyuan Huan, that youngster there, and that girl are all quite nice. Lu Huayan smiled. Xiao Zifan was astonished when he saw Lu Huayan's finger point at him. He couldn't believe it. Me? Me? Yes, you. Lu Huayan was certain. Whether it was strength or talent, Xianyuan Huan was very good. Although his persistence and determination were a little off, once he entered the Azure Water School, it would no longer be a problem. That was because Azure Water School's cultivation was cruel. It was like a greenhouse, where they would only treasure the flowers and throw out the weeds. Xiao Zifan's strength was only average, but he was very bright, which was something they appreciated very much. Other than Xiao Zifan, another woman called Jiang Han was also filled with excitement. She had never thought that she'd be selected. Gazes of admiration and envy stared at Xiao Zifan and Jiang Han. Being able to attract the Azure Water School teacher's attention was truly enviable. I don't know if you three would be interested in partaking in our Azure Water School's exam. Although Fu Hongbo was asking, he wasn't worried. This was a chance that no cultivator would refuse. Just as expected, Xianyuan Huan and the other two all nodded their heads. This was a huge opportunity for them. So long as they tried hard in the examination, their cultivation would definitely improve by leaps and bounds. But everybody was staring at Beili Hongzhuang doubtfully. This year, Beili Hongzhuang's performance was clearly the best, so why didn't they mention Beili Hongzhuang's name? Everyone's face was different, all kinds of conjectures popping into their heads. Could it be that Beili Hongzhuang used a scheme to get to first place, so the two teachers didn't care about her? Su Wanjing's numb eyes suddenly had a ray of light. She immediately thought Beili Hongzhuang must have used a shameful method. However, the next moment, the two teachers did something that made everyone stare with wide eyes. They could only see Lu Huayan and Fu Hongbo walk slowly to Beili Hongzhuang. Shockingly, a shining violet invitation letter appeared in their hands. Miss Beili, are you interested in joining our Azure Water School? Fu Hongbo asked smilingly. Seeing the purple invite, everybody sucked in a cold breath. An invitation letter. It's actually an Azure Water School invitation letter. Beili Hongzhuang actually got the Azure Water School's invitation letter. The letter was something many cultivators dreamed of, but many more didn't even dare to hope for it. The two teachers' question was as different as black and white. Even Xianyuan Huan, the Crown Prince, only got the chance to participate in the exam, but Beili Hongzhuang was allowed to directly enter Azure Water School. There was no need for an exam. The two tutors already firmly believed in her talent. At this moment, everyone was clear. It wasn't that the two teachers didn't care about Bailey Hongzhuang, but that Bailey Hongzhuang was actually the most important part. Too awesome, after everyone hears, who knows how many people will be stunned. Xiao Zifan was briefly surprised, but soon his face was filled with pure joy. Bailey Hongzhuang really isn't simple, to actually be able to get the two teachers' approval. Zhao Yunqi revealed a bitter smile. She wasn't even able to take part in Azure Water School's exam. Ah. If Fu Hongbo and Lu Huaiyan taking out the invitation letter was shocking, Bailey Hongzhuang's next words were even more unbelievable. Chapter 164, Not Interested. Bailey Hongzhuang said lightly. Lu Huaiyan and Fu Hongbo were startled. Before, it had always been others begging them to bestow an invitation. This was the first time they were rejected. The moment Bailey Hongzhuang's words came out, the crowd fell silent. Everyone's mouths had fallen open. This was a rare chance. Ah. Bailey Hongzhuang actually refused. You don't want to join Azure Water School? Lu Huaiyan asked doubtfully. Why? Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was indifferent, no reason. Do you hate Azure Water School? Fu Hongbo was puzzled. The glory of Azure Water School was something almost no cultivator would refuse. Ah. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head a little. I don't care about the school. I just hate you too. She hated the teachers. Everybody's mouths twitched. They truly didn't know what to say. The reason why Bailey Hongzhuang refused the invitation to Azure Sky School was actually because of the two recruitment teachers. What did the two teachers do to provoke you? Kitsch, hate us. Fu Hongbo and Lu Huaiyan looked at each other. Bailey Hongzhuang's answer had baffled them. Before this, we've never even met. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her brow and smiled gently. Are you sure? Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Fu Hongbo and Lu Huaiyan's hearts thumped loudly. Could it be that Bailey Hongzhuang actually did see them that day? How was it like, throwing me into trouble and then sitting back to watch the show? Bailey Hongzhuang's lips were curved, a voice cold with a trace of sarcasm. Now, Fu Hongbo and Lu Huaiyan were sure. Bailey Hongzhuang had really found them out that day. Not only that, but she even knew that they were the ones who had set up the Hell Wolves after her. After a brief period of shock, Fu Hongbo and Lu Huaiyan were now aware that Bailey Hongzhuang was even more extraordinary than they had previously thought. If it was another cultivator, there was no chance that they'd be able to figure it out. Even though they provoked the Hell Wolves, they left no clues behind. It should have been impossible for somebody to find them. Yet Bailey Hongzhuang not only found them, but even knew it was all connected. This revelation couldn't help but make them wonder. Was it them watching the show from the sidelines, or Bailey Hongzhuang? Was she really just a 15-year-old young girl? Her meticulous mind was simply monstrous. But they liked it. As Azure Water School's teachers, what kind of genius haven't they seen? They weren't interested in the average geniuses which only followed everyone else. What truly interested them were monsters like Bailey Hongzhuang. Right, they wanted monsters. The reason why geniuses were known as geniuses were because they possessed a monstrous side. Bailey Hongzhuang was only at the Ainitao stage of Mysterious Ian, but was actually able to discover them all while battling the Hell Wolves. Just how monstrous was her spirit force? Thinking of this, Bailey Hongzhuang was worth even more than they had thought. No matter what, they needed to convince her to enroll in Azure Water School. Bailey Hongzhuang turned to look at Xianyuan Yutian on the platform above her. Emperor, may I ask if the hunting feast is over? Xianyuan Yutian nodded, yes. Hearing his words, Bailey Hongzhuang performed the courtesy. In that case, I will retire first. She had always led her life alone. Even heaven couldn't interfere, how could she let other people? Although he knew Fu Hongbo and Lu Huaiyan's actions had reasons behind them, she had never wanted to go through the test. It was something they had completely forced upon her. She didn't care about Azure Sky School. Chapter 165. Right after she spoke, Bailey Hongzhuang turned to leave the rest area. Everyone was in a daze as they watched her leave. Wasn't this just too rude? Bailey Hongzhuang had directly rejected the two teachers' invitation without another word. Even her words sounded as if she was too lazy to deal with the two. Her identity seemed to change in front of everybody's eyes. Xianyuan Yutian's face was also a bit awkward. The royal hunting competition had already ended, so it wasn't exactly wrong for Bailey Hongzhuang to leave. But thinking reasonably, wasn't that just a terrible time to leave? Teacher Lu, Teacher Fu. Xianyuan Yutian slowly started to talk. With his identity as the country's monarch, he usually didn't need to be worried about other people's displeasure. But Azure Water School's identity was special. Its position was very deep-rooted, and its influence was enormous. Many powerful experts came from the school. Its only goal was to grow the cultivators' strength and never ask anything in return. However, every single cultivator was grateful to Azure Water School as their alma mater. If their alma mater were to meet with a mishap, they wouldn't just stand by and let it die. Some of the students who had turned into famous cultivators assisted Azure Water School and donated resources to them to return the favor. So even though Azure Water School seemed to just be an ordinary school, its identity was actually very complicated. The slightest move would affect everyone else. Even Xianyuan Yutian didn't want to offend them. After all, many of Fengbo country's cultivators were also studying there. What's more, Xianyuan Huan was also preparing to cultivate in Azure Water School. Everybody thought that Fu Hongbo and Lu Huaiyan would get angry after Bailey Hongzhuang's response, but the two's reactions were completely different from their expectations. They could only see them continuing to smile at Xianyuan Yutian. Congratulations, Emperor. It seems like there are many good seedlings in the younger generation. We have some business to do, so we'll take our leave first. Watching the two's reactions, Xianyuan Yutian knew that the two weren't angry at Bailey Hongzhuang, but were actually even more interested in her. He nodded his head. Since you two have something you need to do, I shall not detain you. Lu Huaiyan and Fu Hongbo nodded, at once leaving in Bailey Hongzhuang's direction. Damn, have I seen wrongly? Even after Bailey Hongzhuang refused to join Azure Water School, they are still rushing to ask her. Even if Bailey Hongzhuang's strength isn't bad, the two teachers shouldn't need to chase so desperately, right? In the end, what happened? I don't understand anything. Everybody looked at each other. Bailey Hongzhuang's response was strange, and the two teachers' reaction was even stranger. Could it be that she was straight up trying to get rid of them instead of doing business? Was it that the more Bailey Hongzhuang refused, the more Azure Water School wanted to invite her? Watching the two teachers hurriedly leave as if they were afraid of convincing Bailey Hongzhuang a second late, everybody was left speechless. There was no natural order of things. They had to stake their lives just to hope for a chance to enter Azure Water School, and still needed the teachers to give a nod of approval. But Bailey Hongzhuang was just simply an arrogant idler, and yet other people come running to her. The gap between them and her was just too big. Although all the chancellors seemed to be calm and collect, in their hearts, they were actually extremely shocked. This Bailey Hongzhuang may be able to even go against the heavens, With that, the royal family's hunting competition was over. Although Li Qingqian was very unhappy with Bailey Hongzhuang's performance, after seeing Bailey Zhentao's thick-skinned face turn dark, his heart became very delighted. Edited by Alex. Chapter 166. Right after she spoke, Bailey Hongzhuang turned to leave the rest area. Everyone was in a daze as they watched her leave. Wasn't this just too rude? Bailey Hongzhuang had directly rejected the two teachers' invitation without another word. Even her words sounded as if she was too lazy to deal with the two. Her identity seemed to change in front of everybody's eyes. Xianyuan Yutian's face was also a bit awkward. The royal hunting competition had already ended, so it wasn't exactly wrong for Bailey Hongzhuang to leave. But thinking reasonably, wasn't that just a terrible time to leave? Teacher Lu, Teacher Fu. Xianyuan Yutian slowly started to talk. With his identity as the country's monarch, he usually didn't need to be worried about other people's displeasure. But Azure Water School's identity was special. Its position was very deep-rooted, and its influence was enormous. Many powerful experts came from the school. Its only goal was to grow the cultivator's strength and never ask anything in return. However, every single cultivator was grateful to Azure Water School as their alma mater. If their alma mater were to meet with a mishap, they wouldn't just stand by and let it die. Some of the students who had turned into famous cultivators assisted Azure Water School and donated resources to them to return the favor. So even though Azure Water School seemed to just be an ordinary school, its identity was actually very complicated. The slightest move would affect everyone else. Even Xianyuan Yutian didn't want to offend them. After all, many of Fengbo country's cultivators were also studying there. What's more, Xianyuan Huan was also preparing to cultivate in Azure Water School. Everybody thought that Fu Hongbo and Lu Huaiyan would get angry after Beili Hongzhuang's response, but the two's reactions were completely different from their expectations. They could only see them continuing to smile at Xianyuan Yutian. Congratulations, Emperor. It seems like there are many good seedlings in the younger generation. We have some business to do, so we'll take our leave first. Watching the two's reactions, Xianyuan Yutian knew that the two weren't angry at Beili Hongzhuang, but were actually even more interested in her. He nodded his head. Since you two have something you need to do, I shall not detain you. Lu Huaiyan and Fu Hongbo nodded, at once leaving in Beili Hongzhuang's direction. Damn, have I seen wrongly? Even after Beili Hongzhuang refused to join Azure Water School, they are still rushing to ask her. Even if Beili Hongzhuang's strength isn't bad, the two teachers shouldn't need to chase so desperately, right? In the end, what happened? I don't understand anything. Everybody looked at each other. Beili Hongzhuang's response was strange, and the two teachers' reaction was even stranger. Could it be that she was straight up trying to get rid of them instead of doing business? Was it that the more Beili Hongzhuang refused, the more Azure Water School wanted to invite her? Watching the two teachers hurriedly leave as if they were afraid of convincing Beili Hongzhuang a second late, everybody was left speechless. There was no natural order of things. They had to stake their lives just to hope for a chance to enter Azure Water School, and still needed the teachers to give a nod of approval. But Beili Hongzhuang was just simply an arrogant idler, and yet other people come running to her. The gap between them and her was just too big. Although all the chancellors seemed to be calm and collect, in their hearts, they were actually extremely shocked. This Beili Hongzhuang may be able to even go against the heavens, With that, the royal family's hunting competition was over. Although Li Qingqian was very unhappy with Beili Hongzhuang's performance, after seeing Beili Zhentao's thick-skinned face turn dark, his heart became very delighted. Chapter 167, I don't think she refused the invitation because of Azure Water School, but because of us making the flock of hell wolves attack her. It's true that we didn't handle it very well. Fu Hongbo's face was calm. That girl isn't a petty person, and probably won't bother about that. From what they see of Beili Hongzhuang's behavior towards Xiao Yunxi, if she was truly a petty-minded person, she wouldn't have let Xiao Yunxi off. Lu Huaiyan nodded slightly. This was also one of the points he admired about Beili Hongzhuang. News about Beili Hongzhuang receiving first place for the royal family's hunting competition swept through the imperial city like wind. The people who heard this news was completely stunned. This was a true dark horse who wins the competition. Before, some people had thought first place would be Xianyuan Huan, and other people thought that it'd belong to Beili Yuyan. But nobody had ever thought Beili Hongzhuang would get first. Although it was already known that the trash had gotten prettier, this time Beili Hongzhuang had used her own strength to show everybody she wasn't trash. In the royal family's hunting competition, Beili Hongzhuang completely washed off the title of trash. But before everybody could recover from their shock, another piece of news came, shocking everyone until they couldn't even open their mouths. Azure Water School personally issued an invitation letter, but Bailey Hongzhuang unexpectedly rejected it. Even though Bailey Hongzhuang declined, the two recruiting teachers actually didn't get the least bit angry. Instead, they went and continued to try and persuade Bailey Hongzhuang. What was called domineering? This was called domineering. All the cultivators were racking their brains for a chance to enter Azure Water School, but Bailey Hongzhuang was able to think over whether she wanted to go or not. With this, the gaps completely appeared. At this moment, Bailey Honghang had a headache. All over the city, everybody was talking about Bailey Hongzhuang. The Imperial City's #1 beauty, Fengbo Country's #1 physician, and Azure Water School's personally invited genius. The three titles condensed into a halo around one person. Her power was stunning. Hearing everyone talk, Li Huayan and Fu Hongbo gained a better understanding of Bailey Hongzhuang. The more they heard, the more they knew Bailey Hongzhuang truly wasn't simple. A 15-year-old girl who was always called trash her whole life, suddenly brilliantly blossomed, but was still able to stay calm and collected. Just this temperament alone was enough to make one feel fearful. Although they didn't know why Bailey Hongzhuang was always silently enduring it for so long, being capable of enduring 15 years of unwarranted abuse then suddenly gaining such power and accomplishments, one could only imagine how tough her heart was. Lu Huayan and Fu Hongbo looked at each other. They had still underestimated Bailey Hongzhuang. This Bailey Hongzhuang's future isn't simple. Fu Hongbo's face revealed deep emotion. Now he could finally understand how Bailey Hongzhuang was able to stay so calm and collected even while being trapped by a flock of hell wolves. Because, after living 15 years cursed and spat on, disdained despite being able to cultivate, her heart was unshakable. The strong ought to have their requirements, and she posses them all. Lu Huayan nodded slightly. We found an amazing girl. The two looked at each other, smiling. They were even more intent on recruiting Bailey Hongzhuang. From the steward's words, Bailey Hongzhuang learned a little bit about Azure Water School. Before she was always holed up in the general's household. She didn't even know the basics of cultivation, never mind Azure Water School. Azure Water School had already stood for more than a millennium. Its reputation was very good, and the majority of the cultivators capable of entering all saw a large growth in their strength. That was also why so many cultivators were all racking their heads over how they could join Azure Water School. Chapter 168. 1,000 years ago, Bailey Honghang would have known all the big and famous schools. Although cultivating in schools weren't like cultivating in an aristocratic family, it could still strongly boost a cultivator's power. After all, only after seeing other geniuses would one recognize their own weaknesses and arouse their fighting spirit. Otherwise, if you just stayed alone, your cultivation would inevitably stagnate. Master, this Azure Water School is a pretty good place to go. From the beginning, Bailey Hongzhuang had planned to learn through experience. Cultivating comfortably inside wasn't very good for her growth. She needed to find more rivals, letting her break through again and again past her limits. Joining Azure Water School, Bailey Hongzhuang could meet many amazing cultivators. The school's resources and practical experiences weren't lacking, and it seemed to be even more suitable than going alone. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly nodded her head. Azure Water School isn't bad, but that's not the reason I don't want to go. The next day. The sun shined as birds sang and fragrant flowers bloomed. Bailey Hongzhuang was cultivating in her room when a maid came in with news. Azure Water School's teachers had come. Hearing this information, Bailey Hongzhuang raised her brows. Without needing to think, she already knew it was the two from yesterday. Chen Palace's foyer. Bailey Hongzhuang had just arrived at the foyer to see Lu Huayan and Fu Hongbo contentedly snacking on the refreshments, taking small sips of tea and occasionally saying a few words of praise. These two guys were truly too relaxed. Miss Bailey came. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang, Lu Huayan's face revealed a smile. After a night of sleep, I wonder if you thought it over. Still the same. Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly. Fu Hongbo placed down the tea and stood up. The smile on his face slowly disappeared, replaced by a deep and serious expression. I know that you don't wish to join Azure Water School because of our test. We were truly wrong about that. The strength you displayed had attracted out attention, and so we only wanted to probe you out a little. So, we apologize to you. Fu Hongbo's eyes were earnest and sincere. As an elder, he didn't feel wrong apologizing to a junior. After all, if something like this happened to him, he would also be very unhappy. I hope you don't mind. Lu Huaiyan's lips rippled with a faint smile. They knew clearly that even though the girl was abused for more than 10 years, her self-esteem absolutely wasn't allowed to be trampled on. In Bailey Honghang's eyes, their actions truly weren't the least bit respectful. The two's apologies were far beyond Bailey Hongzhuang's expectations. She had never thought that the two had come in the morning to apologize. As Azure Water School's teachers, they were the object of admiration by many. But now, they came to apologize to her. In this case, she was only unhappy that the other side wanted to test her. But she knew that to select the best, it was still quite normal. This was a world that followed the laws of the jungle. The rules were always written by the strong, and the weak could only watch. But watching the two apologize so seriously, a trace of warmth couldn't help but appear in her heart. An elegant smile bloomed on Bailey Hongzhuang's blossom-like lips. I would also like to apologize for my earlier behavior. Since Lu Huaiyan and Fu Hongbo already took a step back, she naturally couldn't continue to keep a grudge. Their manners even made her admire them a little. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Fu Hongbo and Lu Huaiyan immediately sat back in their original positions and continued to sample the refreshments. Girl, your home's refreshments really aren't bad. Seeing the two's attitudes change so fast and even immediately changing the topic, Bailey Hongzhuang's mouth twitched. It looked like it was impossible for these two guys to stay serious. A faint smile slowly emerged in her black eyes. She had already begun to get used to Fu Hongbo's personality. Since you think it's pretty good, I'll get the kitchen to prepare some more for you to take back. Bailey Hongzhuang said, indifferent. Ha, this girl truly knows how to talk. Fu Hongbo laughed brightly. In 1 month, Azure Water School will send an announcement. You mustn't arrive late. Lu Huaiyan urged. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded her head slightly. I'll arrive on time. Since it's like this, we have to go now. You must work hard, we'll be waiting for you at Azure Water School. Fu Hongbo smiled. Okay. Right after Bailey Hongzhuang sent off the two teachers, she spotted Xiao Zifan and Zhao Yunxi standing in front of the palace gates. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang come out, Xiao Zifan waved, Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrow. She actually didn't expect for Xiao Zifan to come here himself. The royal hunting competition just finished, so everybody should be recuperating in their homes. You guys are looking for me? Xiao Zifan nodded his head. Today Tianxiang Market is having an auction. I heard that there'll be lots of treasures inside, so Yunxi and I just happened to stop by and wanted to tell you. Are you interested? Auction? Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes swam, a bright smile making its way onto her lips. I would also like to watch. For cultivators in Xingxua continent, in addition to shops, there were another way for them to find what they wanted, auctions. Auctions were all about cultivators. The items' value were often higher than the normal shop's items, but it was also far more expensive. Bailey Hongzhuang was also very interested in the competition. Perhaps, she could find some of the stuff she needed there. Right now, the thing she lacked most was a good weapon. Ordinary swords simply wouldn't do, that could be clearly be seen with how the Hell Wolf King had snapped it with a single bite. The auction starts at 3 o'clock. We'll meet directly in Tianxiang Market. Xiao Zifan smiled. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Now it was too early and the auction wouldn't begin for quite a while. First, she should go take a look at the beast egg. After learning about Azure Water School last night, she had actually completely forgotten about the beast egg. Thinking of it now, she too wanted to know what kind of spirit beast it was. Returning inside, Bailey Hongzhuang took out the demonic beast egg. It was only 20 centimeters tall, its whole body completely white. Complicated, abstruse patterns appeared around it. These were the seals binding its strength. Bailey Hongzhuang also knew a bit about spirit beasts, but seeing this demonic beast seal, she couldn't help but frown. After 1,000 years, the seal was very different from what she had remembered. "Master, I don't this seal is ordinary ah." Little Black spoke up. Little White nodded, "I think that the demonic beast sealed inside is even more unordinary. I can sense its energy fluctuations." Little Black and Little White were also a kind of spirit beast, but they themselves didn't know what beasts they were. Unlike humanity, demonic beasts were hierarchical. If a low-level demonic beast encountered a high-level one, it would instinctively acknowledge allegiance. Although Little Black and Little White didn't know what kind of demonic beasts they were, they clearly weren't weak. Since it could even make Little White say it wasn't simple, it was clear that the demonic beast inside was absolutely extraordinary. Chapter 170, The royal family being able to put an ordinary spirit beast as the prize was already very costly, but they could actually still bear to give a powerful one? Her clear eyes were filled with surprise. Originally, she didn't have much hope with the spirit beast egg. After all, even if Feng Bo country somehow managed to get a powerful spirit beast, there was no way that they'd give it to her. But now, it looked very different from what she'd expected. "I don't think that the royal family knew how special this spirit beast egg was. This egg has a power that blocks the spirit beast's power fluctuations. Only we can sense them." Little White spoke up. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved, "So basically, I got a big bargain." Although she still didn't know what kind of beast was inside, at the very least, Bailey Hongzhuang knew it definitely wasn't weak. Different spirit beasts had different strengths. Their potentials were different. If the spirit beast's rank was low, then even if the owner knew how to nurture it properly, its achievements would still be limited. That was because they didn't have very much potential. But if the spirit beast's rank was high, it'd have lots of room to grow, giving far more help to its master. Bailey Hongzhuang no longer hesitated. Directly taking a knife to cut her finger, she allowed a small drop of blood to drip on the spirit beast's shell. With the drop of blood, the patterns on the shell bloomed with golden light, shining in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes. It was lucky that it was daytime. If it was night, the brilliant flashes of light would have long attracted other cultivators. The fine drop of blood quickly flowed over the patterns and continued to glide. Wherever it went, the seals dissipated. When the drop of blood finally stopped moving, all the seals had vanished. Blood oozed through the shell, blending into the space between the spirit beast's eyebrows. Ka-cha! Ka-cha! Cracking sounds came from the eggshell. Bailey Hongzhuang and the two fluff balls curiously peered inside the shell. They were all very curious about the spirit beast inside. The first thing that appeared was a furry, white paw. The tiny paw was extremely cute. Then, the eggshell was shattered and similarly furry head appeared in front of Bailey Hongzhuang. "Master!" A childish voice shouted at Bailey Hongzhuang, filled with dependence and curiosity. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips twitched as she looked at the thing that could only be described as a house pet in front of her. "This is what you guys called a strong and powerful spirit beast?" In front of her, there was only a white, furry body curiously looking around. As far as the eye could see, it was no different from a pet dog. Just a single glance was capable of snatching a woman's heart. But still, this was completely different from Bailey Hongzhuang's imagination. She had thought that a high-ranked spirit beast would have a mighty and domineering appearance, but in front of her was only a small, white dog. If everyone heard this, she was afraid that they'd die from laughing. Little Black and Little White's faces were also stunned as they looked at the white creature. This figure. It was also different from their imaginations. Ah. Little White finally moved closer in front of the white creature, carefully sizing up the spirit beast's appearance. It didn't know any demonic beasts that looked like this. Ah. Little Black pointed at its forehead. Master, look. King is written on its forehead. T/N, the Chinese character for king is Wang, so is written on its forehead, not the actual English letters /Chinese pinyin. Hearing that, Bailey Hongzhuang grabbed the spirit beast and looked at its forehead. Sure enough, a character was printed on there. Seeing the king character and then looking at the little white dog, Bailey Honghang couldn't help but find it very funny. What king? Puppy King. Bailey Hongzhuang was speechless. Pfft. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang call it a puppy king, Little Black and Little White couldn't help but laugh. This was just too funny. Master, maybe it's because this spirit beast is only a newborn, so the appearance was a little off. Maybe it's actually a tiger. Ah. Little White said. Bailey Hongzhuang examined the spirit beast, traces of doubt in her eyes. I hope so. It was hard to really understand anything about a demonic beast. The only thing you could think of was how utterly adorable it was. There was a chance that it would become an amazing spirit beast later. After all, both Little Black and Little White believed that its rank wasn't low. Do you guys know what kind of spirit beast this is? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. She saw many demonic beasts, but they were practically all adult beasts. She truly didn't know much about baby demonic beasts. Little Black and Little White looked at each other before shaking their heads. We don't know. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the spirit beast and asked, what kind of spirit beast are you? Ordinary spirit beasts weren't able to open their mouths to talk unless they were strong enough to change into their humanoid forms. However, if the spirit beast and master were very close, they could form a split link to communicate with spirit force. That way, they were at least able to have a tacit understanding of each other. The spirit beast shook its head, slowly speaking, don't know. Hearing its answer, Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't surprised. It was also very pitiful, being sealed immediately after birth. It didn't even know what kind of demonic beast it was. But that wasn't a problem. As long as it grew up, she would naturally know what it was. Later on, we'll all be one family. Bailey Hongzhuang petted the beast, smiling. Master, give this little guy a name. Little Black said laughingly. Bailey Hongzhuang thought deeply before finally speaking, we'll call you Baishir. T/N, Baishir equals white lion. She believed that from the king character on its head, it shouldn't be weak. So, its name shouldn't be any weaker than its rank. After Bailey Hongzhuang chose the name Baishir, she found Little Black and Little White staring at her indignantly. Facing the two fluffballs' eyes, Bailey Hongzhuang was surprised. Why are you guys looking at me like that? Master, why weren't you this good when you were giving us names? Little Black's eyes were filled with resentment. Such a terrible name was the biggest stain of its life. Ah. One look and you know we aren't truly loved. Just how many dogs have such a great name? Little White said angrily. In the primordial chaos ring, they had originally wished for their names to be resounded all over China. But thinking of their current names, they couldn't help but shed bitter tears. Little White, this name just sounded too weak. How could a world-famous demonic beast have such a name? It truly couldn't face it. Ah, hearing Little Black and Little White's grievances, Bailey Honghang's mouth twitched. These two guys were too serious, the names were only code names. But she clearly knew that the two fluffballs wouldn't listen to her. That's not it necessarily true. Ah. Right now, I'll give you two a super domineering combination name. Bailey Hongzhuang said smilingly. What new name? Little White and Little Black asked, eyes wide. Black and White Fiends. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrow. How is it? Isn't it very domineering? Little Black and Little White paused, before trying to act cool by rolling their eyes. It's a so-so. But their lips couldn't help but curve and reveal their true thoughts. That name really was powerful. Ah. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.